Okay, it says it's live streaming, Sean. So
Yeah, let me see there. Does it just come up on your Facebook
yeah, it'll
page?
just show up as live. Yeah, it'll just say it's live. It says it's live, so
It hasn't yet that I see. Oh,
live stream.
yep. There it is. It's shown.
All
Yeah.
right, awesome, cool. All right, well that's a lot easier than that was before. Wow, I used to have to do 75 different things. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining. It's been a while. Definitely been a while since I've did this. I took a little break. That was due to maybe some potential career opportunities that I was exploring that I was advised that um, maybe sharing, I don't want to say my beliefs, but maybe some of my thoughts and opinions on things may eventually affect my future um, career opportunities. And so I kind of took a step back. But a lot of people during that time was really, well, I guess a little bit disappointed because I know a lot of people really like that I could get on, bring people on. They get to hear some people's stories. They get to hear um, people's opinions on things, and then sometimes there's things that, things that they learned about people they didn't even know. I mean, some people knows people for years and years and didn't know a lot of things that they found out. So it also kind of gave people a platform to um, kind of voice their opinions on certain things. Like I said, I don't really, um, how can I say this? I guess I don't really care normally what anybody says, right? Like it's one of those things, like unless we're getting kind of crazy, kind of
You can be the moderator, man. It's
right.
fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like try to moderate it a little bit. It's one of those things I'll say right from the start. All of us are obviously in a first responder's role, and right from the start, I'll say that this is our opinions and our beliefs. It has nothing to do with any of our employers and no organizations we're affiliated with. This is strictly our opinions. So I'm going to go ahead and say that from the start. That way, people don't get that mixed up.
That's fair.
Well, it's one of those things, man. You really got to say that right from the start because people just assume that something
Yeah.
that you say right from the start, you know, obviously they try to run with it sometimes. All right, so everybody, this is kind of one of those things where we're gonna take some questions. We're gonna have some discussions on some topics that um, some people brought up. So if you have any questions in the chat, go ahead and throw them in there, and we'll go ahead and try to answer them as best as we can.
So this question show up where we can see them, or is it just on the Facebook part?
I guess it must only still be on the Facebook part. So you have it up, right?
I do. I'm gonna kind of try to make it to where I can see it here a little bit, just out of.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh no.
All right. So first off, one of the okay, well, I'll let you do that real quick, Sean, before I get into it.
Yeah, there we go. I got it up. It's fixed.
Okay. All right, and then Hunter, we'll just let you know what they say. Okay.
Okay, got it.
So first question we got from Ethan Rousey was, and we kind of talked about this, had a little laugh about it before the show started. Was why does law enforcement park in the way, and especially I guess to hyper focus at is on structure fires, and I'm not a cop, obviously. Um, so I don't know the whole thought process behind that sometimes. So we'll go ahead and let Sean go ahead and take the lead on this one, and then I'll kind of just give my opinion on maybe the reason why I think maybe.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I said before the show started, man. I think it's more so a lack of, I don't want to say lack of knowledge, but kind of that, you know what I mean? There's always that emphasis of we're out and about, we hear the call, either come out or we're already in the area or we see the smoke or whatever's going on. So 9 times out of 10, our first thought process is make sure people are out because that's about the best we can do to help with anything, and let neighbors know. So sometimes I think guys just have a lack of understanding. I mean, me, I've been doing it for 9 years, so I know, if I see fire extinguisher. I'm not gonna park, or a fire hydrant. I'm not gonna park my cruiser right in front of it. You know what I mean? But as far as I think a lot of cops may not have the understanding of where your fire apparatuses need to be, where we're good, where we're not good. You know, obviously we're not gonna try to park 2 blocks away and run down the street,
Right.
but me personally, I think about that as I pull up. I can't promise that all police officers do, you know, so I don't know how big of an issue it is to firefighters because, you know, I feel like, with the fire department in our area, we have a pretty good relationship that somebody would say, hey, man, we need your cruiser moved, or, you know, hey, you're in our way or something. Or I feel like that would happen, but maybe not. I don't know, you know?
Yeah, no, I would I'd have to agree with you on that. I'd say it's probably a lack of experience and maybe a little bit of adrenaline.
Oh,
Obviously,
yeah.
even for us, right? I mean, you still get an adrenaline rush. It doesn't matter how long you did it. If somebody's telling you that they're not excited to go, they're a liar. Um, so it's one of those things, man, where we still have guys that's been doing this for 20 years, and they still want to park the truck right in the middle of the road,
Yep.
knowing that we're gonna have to have trucks, other trucks coming in and out. We're gonna have, you know, it's all about apparatus placement, right? I mean, like, so they'll call for a ladder truck, and then you can't even get truck in there. It's
Yep.
like, well, I just brought this thing across town. I'm gonna park it in the parking lot across the street, and we're gonna leave it there because you didn't leave room for me to park, right? So it kind of goes hand in hand. But yeah, like you said, I think it's just a lack of experience. So I mean, I'm doing this for a while. My first thought process is that, like, if we're not taking an engine, we're gonna be a little bit late, or for whatever reason we're already out on something else, and we have a pickup truck, um, and a squad. But we get there first. I'm not gonna park right in front of the house, right? Like, we know, like, pull to the side. Get out of the way the best you can. Like, try to get close so you're not trying to walk with a pack and your gear and everything. Like, I don't want to walk a mile either. So,
Yep.
uh, especially fully kitted. So, but yeah, I mean that's one of the things that I don't think it's personal. I don't think that
Absolutely not. No.
personally try to park in the way, right? So,
No, I don't think there's ever a police officer that's like, "Hey, let me block this fire truck from getting in here." You know, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
what's your opinion, Hunter? What do you think?
Playing off of what both of you two said, so combining the adrenaline rush with having, maybe some newer guys come on and you're arriving on scene to a fire, perhaps before even the first engine got there. I mean, if you don't have the experience in that setting and the engines aren't set up the way that they need to be yet, it's kind of hard to know how to set yourself up if you're not used to that. So I could understand parking closer than, maybe you would need to if you're not used to understanding the space that the engines need to get set up for the scene.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know, right? I mean, it's one of those things where there's a lot of things that, like, across the board there. There's things that Sean knows, and then there's things that, like, we know that that he shouldn't have to know. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where we don't expect him to know, like, hey, ladder truck needs to be placed in this specific position for best coverage. But then
Yep.
it's one of those things, and then it's like, oh, I also don't need to know the law. Okay, well, let me take that. Let me go. Let me take a few steps on that. Let's take a few steps back on that one. I don't need to know, like,
We'll
state
say
code,
criminal charges.
criminal
Yeah, yeah.
charges. Yeah,
Maybe a few. Yeah.
but law don't apply to me. Volunteer fireman. Um, you get a grunt out of that one, Hunter. And then, um, that's okay. The state gave me a sticker so that I drive 150 miles an hour across town.
That's right.
Pull me over. You'll find out. Um, okay, so Sean, you got any questions? Maybe in your TikTok, somebody
I don't have any questions yet. The one question I got, I won't read. It doesn't have much to do with either one of our group.
just completely read. Okay.
Yeah.
So you brought up earlier about the good relationships that you and your local fire department have. It's a good working relationship, right? Like we talk about how important that is and how that could very easily be ruined off of one situation, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's one of those things where um, I feel like depending on the call, certain departments, or I should say, depending on which like kind of category you're in, right? Because I feel like if it's a fire, um, firefighters, the fire department, obviously, um, they're running the show, but then they kind of also want to try to treat everybody else there kind of like they're in the way sometimes, which is kind of not a good thing. Also, I mean, it goes hand in hand too because I've been on EMS calls where we're called to assist and then we show up and then EMS just absolutely treats us like we're dumb and we're just there to
Yeah.
kind of like we're the muscle, right? Like, oh hey, listen, we called you just to come pick them up. Please don't even open your mouth up. But I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens in all those ways, and it's not necessarily good. It's not necessarily bad. I mean, I feel like when you were in the area working, I felt like we could communicate very well and say, hey, if a car needs moved, it needs moved. We'll move it. If you guys need something, I mean, I would never get mad about that ever. Me personally, there's no reason to, you know what I mean? Like even EMS, if we're shut up on a house fire, we know EMS is coming if we got people that were in the smoke or, hell, there's times, man, that, I'll use the fire that we had around Dunkard Avenue that one time that the apartment underneath was on fire. Like, dude,
oh yeah,
I mean, I was there. I don't know how many minutes I was there before the fire department, but dude, I'd already been inside seeing the flames, was getting the guy out because he was tossing water on the ceiling like a goof. And I was like, man, get out. You know what I mean? And they had cats in there and all that type of stuff. But like, it's one of those deals where once everybody's on scene, man, I've never understood that frustration from any of the departments on what someone else is doing or how they want to do it. Or, me, like, I don't know nothing about a fire, man. If I get there on scene, you guys like, hey, don't do this or do this, I'm gonna listen. You know what I mean? Especially once my initial as a police officer on a house fire is just to get people out, and that's really it, man. You know what I mean? It's just to preserve life and make sure if I can get neighbors out or whatever. So that's one less thing you guys have to worry about when you get there. That's what I'm going to try to do. You know what I mean? So once you guys are there, I normally stand back and I'm like, all right, my part's over. Where do you need me? I'll watch hoses don't get ran over or whatever you need, But I've never understood the getting mad at each other, getting frustrated. I mean, it's going to happen. We're going to get in each other's way, but, it shouldn't be a huge deal to anybody.
Hunter, you're. I thought you were gonna say something. I don't want to run over top of you.
No, you're good. I had a question for Sean. On the times that
Oh,
you've been on a scene, whether it be an EMS call, fire call, if you've ever had a time where you felt communication has broken down on the scene, what do you feel like was a contributing factor or what started it?
honestly, I don't feel like I've ever been on a scene. I'm very good at like making the communication happen, man. I mean, Johnny knows we've been on plenty of calls together. I mean, if he needs something or I need something, we're just gonna come up and say, hey man, can you do this? Can you do that? But I guess when you got firefighters or police that don't really know each other, or there's animosity, or it's we've all got a guy at our department that, the firefighters don't like, or there's a guy in the fire department that some of
True.
the police are like, hey, this motherfucker,
That's
he's got
true
warrants
too.
or whatever. There's always those things that are like,
The firefighter that there's
yeah,
going. Like,
I'm just, and I don't think that's ever
buddy,
happened,
that
but
probably is true.
yeah,
In some of these places, like
but
this guy just drove the truck there unsuspended.
yeah, I mean, there's always those things that are gonna happen, and
Got the SRO in the fire truck.
but there's a time and a place for any of that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And me personally, man, I would never have that animosity. If there was a breakdown in communication, man, I normally just get somebody and say, hey, what do you need? And that's my way of saying, hey, if you don't like what I'm doing, you tell me what you want me to do. You know what I mean? If there's something I can do and I'm standing there like it's kind of like when we're on a scene of when we come to back up EMS or fire because there's somebody that's unruly and whatever, and we got to go hands on with them, that's a situation where you guys just stand back and say, hey, what do you need from me? And we're like, man, we'll tell you, grab an arm or a leg or something if you got
Like,
to.
man, I'll
But,
spray them down, dude. They get a
I
little out
mean,
of
yeah.
hand, dude. I hit them with
I
a
mean, I
hose.
had a situation where we were in a full blown knuckle dragging fight with a guy that was on substances and was just out of his mind, man. And I watched several EMS people just stand there and didn't even lift a finger to help us. And basically, as we're going hands on with the guys, telling us they're not allowed to help us unless we ask him, and we're like, brother, we're asking you, grab his leg,
Like,
like,
this is implied.
yeah, like, I shouldn't, but I get it. I get that liability or whatever. So it's one of those things. But yeah, man, communication is key. And I just, if I'm not getting it, dude, I'm just gonna talk and demand it. But I feel like I've been there for so long again, man, that I know everybody on the fire department in our area. And, we don't really have that issue. But I could see if you're new to an area or a new officer, I could see where that would happen. I've seen it happen. I've seen where there's been disagreement with officers and fire. And I always just laugh and like, come on, man, we work together. Let's get through. Let's move on, get the job done, and go home.
I mean, some people are just dicks, right? And that's
Yeah.
just the way it is too. It's just, I mean, that's hard to deal with sometimes because people are just dicks. I mean, it's just a dickhead personality. It's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So go back a little bit to where you were discussing. Um, Obviously, you guys are already out driving around. We kind of discussed that, right? So you're
Oh yeah.
already there. Your response time is going to be way faster. Yeah. So if you could possibly, I mean, maybe because sometimes people are probably their thought process is like, okay, the cops need to, obviously give a size up of some sort and then get out of the way kind of thing, right? But also on the flip side of that, like you just said, you could be waking up neighbors. I mean, as long as you're not going like super far into the house, right? Because then once you start getting in pretty decent, that obviously poses a risk to your health. Um, and
Right.
then obviously there's a lot of unknown factors there. I mean, smoke inhalation drop you to your knees in seconds. Um, but I mean, you never know though. There's been a bunch of saves by law enforcement prior to fire showing up. I mean,
Right.
sometimes, I mean, it's fire could be on the other side of your district. I mean, you could be, volunteer fire departments. To be honest, I mean, you could be 15 minutes, 20 minutes response time. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds absolutely insane to people, but that's a realistic thing today. I mean, even staffed fire departments. I mean, response time. I mean, you can still be looking at 10, 15 minutes sometimes. You don't know. I mean, you don't know what they could have. This day and age, just not, especially in career fire department, it's just not fire, right? They're on EMS calls. So if they're dealing with an EMS call because actual EMS is held up, or um, no staffing. That's a huge thing that we've dealt with in this county is the staffing for EMS is very low. Um, Not really sure what that is. Maybe we'll get somebody on eventually from EMS. Go ahead and give us a little um, idea on what's going on there. But so yeah, I mean, obviously you guys are gonna be there way before. So anything you guys can do to help. I mean, even if you guys apartment complex, right? I mean, I absolutely sleep dead. Like, I mean, I am out when I'm out. And I could be fucking house probably be rolling. And they're like, damn, man, I take this blanket off. It's kind of warm in here. But maybe you coming and banging on the door. Of course, I'd probably hear that and get up, right? And I mean, that's really sometimes all you need. I mean, that could have saved somebody's life by you getting there and, you know, evacuating everybody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and like I said, man, there's been a lot of times I've gotten on scene first, and just it's more so I call it the dummy check kind of, you know what I mean? But like I said, in that one fire, man, we had a guy in the house, literally, dude, he's filling a cup like this with water, and he's
oh
trying to
yeah,
toss it up on the ceiling, and the whole ceiling, I mean, the smoke was still high, and I was able to go right underneath it, and it wasn't hot or anything yet. But I'm watching this guy as the ceiling's on fire, trying to throw water on it. And dude, I can't remember what I called him, but I said some words to him, and I was like, "Get out!" And I mean, I thought I was gonna have to grab him by the arm and yank him out. I was like, "Dude, you can't control that with a cup of water. Like, get
Dude,
out."
this
The
guy
whole
must be
ceiling was a
watching some Andy Starnes videos, dude,
well,
trying to friggin' prevent the flash over, dude. This guy's in here trying to
yeah.
go in here and cool the superheated gases or something, dude. This guy he was doing the Lord's work, Sean, and you're like, get out.
Oh, he was doing something, all right. He was, man, he was something. I mean, he had me fired up. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, but it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, man. It's you know what's so obviously we talk about how much help you guys are when you guys get there early, but it's also kind of detrimental to you guys also because you guys also catch a little bit of the helpless feeling on
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of these calls, right? Because you arrive so early that a lot of the time, depend if it's a fire call, right? Of course. Which when I say fire call, for some people that are not maybe watching that are not entirely familiar with what I'm meaning, is right. It just fire department just obviously just does not respond to fires, right? I mean, it's one of those things where. Sean, I don't believe your department does. You do not carry an AED in your cruiser, correct?
We do not. Nope.
Okay. Okay. So you're waiting on if it's cardiac arrest, you're waiting on AED. If it's uh car wreck with entrapment, I mean you're waiting for the fire department to get there for the extrication. I mean there's a lot of times where you're there and you're in I don't want to say in a rush to get there, right? Because I mean obviously, but I mean you kind of rush to get there and then you're like, oh crap, there's really only so much I can do. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you can kind of control the scene, try to make sure that there's no unwanted danger per se.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's dude. I've felt so helpless on a lot of calls, man. I mean, my gosh, especially when like I don't know if you were around for the Cono Lodge when the truck jumped up into the parking lot, man.
Yeah, dude,
And
I was there. Yeah,
you know,
that was insane because I remember our wonderful dispatch.
yeah, that was a whole that, and I remember afterwards us talking about mistakes on that. But what was the wildest thing to me was, man, is that was, and that was such an intricate call, man, and it was so much like confusion at first because dude, like it started out with us, I mean, driving just literally to get to the call, and I'm looking everywhere, and they're like the 4 lanes, by the interstate, and I'm looking around and I'm like, Mecca, I don't see nothing. And they're like, it's right there off the exit ramp. And I finally like look up the hill and I was like, holy, and I saw the tire marks going up the hill, so we sped around and went up there, and man, the guy was out. Like, we had no idea this man was not breathing. We
Oh,
had no idea, and like, dude, to say I felt helpless for that, I don't even know how long it was we were pumping on the guy, man. I really don't know. Other than I remember yelling on the radio, hey, he's unresponsive, beginning CPR, and man, just pumping on the guy. But I know I was never so happy to see you guys coming with equipment, because I was like, dude, I was getting tired, you know what I mean? And people don't realize how tired you get doing that, but especially when I don't have an AED, I don't have anything to, other than my
yeah,
hands,
yeah,
so
really help
that
with
was the
that.
call I felt really helpless on, man. It was it's a crappy feeling, but it's also a good feeling. Like, yeah, I'll say it, even though nobody wants to hear the police say this. But sometimes it's a relief when you see that fire truck coming. You know what I mean? Not that, not that we're, we
Hold
can't
on,
handle stuff,
hold
but
on.
police need heroes too. You trying to record that? I'm just
Yeah, let
kidding.
me get my phone.
Yeah,
I'm gonna phone
that's
back.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hold on. I don't want to interrupt you and ruin the moment. We're talking about you not being able to see the chat. When you guys look to the right side of your screen, does it say what do you have? Does it say chat anywhere? Can you see that?
It says public chat,
Okay, so click on
but
public chat, and then did it show anything whenever
yeah, I
clicking
see
that?
it.
Okay, yeah, so you can
Yeah,
see
just
it
see
now.
the
Okay,
comment pop.
okay, so that way you guys can see that. That's awesome because you used to not be able to see that at all. So that's coming directly from Facebook.
Yeah, that's
Um,
no, that's awesome. That's better because I had it open here on the side and was trying to look at it.
Hunter, you can see it also.
By
Yeah.
the way, hi Abby, hi Megan.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad you guys can see this. I don't have to translate that because I used to literally have to like go through and copy whatever people put and then put it in the chat. It was terrible. So yeah, um, so that's the thing, right? Is we were just talking about how um helpless you feel, right? And it's one of those things where there's nothing that probably angers me more than um when you're unprepared, right? And you're unprepared due to the fact that you were not even informed of the situation. I cannot tell you how many times I thought I was going to a basic NVA. For people that are watching and don't know, Monster Truck Vehicle Association. Um, all right. So basically, just or some people medical rescue, right? There's like so much terminology that people throw around that it just keeps changing and changing. A car wreck, right? I assumed I was going to a car wreck, and we're on our way. Like I'm not saying that I've ever broken the law because I have driven a little bit faster than I should have. But I will tell you that I in my head have a thought that dependent on the call's urgency is if I need to drive a little bit faster, right? I'm sure that everybody's the same way. Sean's the same way. If it's some BS fender bender, he's probably going to, I'm not saying he's going to like make you wait all day, but he's probably not going to, cause another collision to get there. But if he's told that there's, you know, multiple people trapped and there's people bleeding and the car's on fire and he's probably going to drive a little bit faster.
Oh,
That's
we're
just
gonna
the
be
way it
moving.
is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's just natural. I mean, it's just human nature. You're wanting to get there faster. The adrenaline starts rolling. There's a dangerous part of that too. There's a flip side to that. But if you're not even told to begin with that there is more to the story, then obviously that really pisses me off to be very honest about it. Is that and it's not sometimes the person that is necessarily dispatching the call does not know, but the person taking the call didn't ask the question that they should have asked. They just say, "Oh, your house on fire? Okay, oh, get out. Fire department's on the way." Didn't ask how many people are in the house. Didn't ask, where the fire, possibly is like, oh, is a fire in the basement? Is a fire, here? Like, is anybody gonna have any trouble getting out of the house? Ask questions.
yeah. Well,
I
and
mean, it's not just a basic call like, hey, my neighbor's dog's barking. Okay, yeah, cool. We'll send somebody out. Cool. You don't need to be on the phone for 35 minutes. But we're talking about something very serious that you need to ask probing questions on.
yeah, and I mean, in dispatch between dispatch us, I mean, there's always in the heat of battle. I don't. Kira there said she was on that call and was never told that CPR was in progress. I don't know if she's a firefighter or what her function is, um, but yeah, like, dude, like, I mean, I remember yelling it on the radio. We are doing CPR now, whether or not my transmission went through, whether or not the dispatcher picked it up, I mean, there's so many things that can fail on a call like that, and sometimes it's just the heat of the moment that all that, and I don't blame any certain entity for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just stuff's gonna happen. I mean, I think for the situation, I mean, the guy was alive days later. That's all I know. So I mean, it worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We gave him another chance of fighting for life or whatever. But yeah, those things are always kind of, it's nice. You're with West Saver, okay? Yeah, and I don't know if that the chat in here is kind of behind. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, is it? It may be. It may
Like,
be.
yeah, she already
So
had another comment, but
so
it's
it's a
oh, there it
little
goes.
it's a
Okay,
little
yeah,
lagged because I think of the transition, like from it
yeah, it
coming
must
through.
be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know that day where the communication broke down. It could have been dispatch. It could have been my transmission. I don't know, honestly. I'd have to go back and watch it all. And I think that's something probably as first responders we should all do a little bit more, is maybe a little, in the military, we used to do it a lot. We called it a debriefing, you know what I mean? After a critical incident, you kind of sat around a table with each other and you normally talk about things, you know what I mean? But obviously time, we're all busy, we got more calls to get to. I don't think we get enough of a chance to do that sometimes, and I think that'd be beneficial to everybody, but it's tough.
Yeah. No. obviously me and Hunter ran a lot of calls together. That's something that I was always really big on, was debriefing after, letting everybody know that they did a good job, even if they did an absolute dog shit job like they did most of the time. Um,
Happens.
it's one of those things where at the end of the day, after you just killed yourself, a simple thank you really goes a long ways. Also, just somebody asking you if you're okay. You could be absolutely dying inside because of what you
Yeah.
just seen, and now um, you're about to go home and sit, or not you. I mean, yeah, you're probably gonna go to the office and sit, but
Sometimes.
uh, but what you see just doesn't go away, right? It just doesn't go away immediately, and sometimes that image could be stuck in your head, and you're dying to want to talk about it, but you don't want to, I guess, kind of sound weak, or you don't want to. Sometimes talking about it, really, like, you feel like by you starting the conversation, you feel like you're keeping it going, I guess. So I mean, I think it's very critical, and especially, I don't know what your approach on that is as a supervisor, or what your guys' policies are and stuff like that. But me personally, I think that, like, building a really good connection with your guys, and you know having a good debriefing after really makes a big difference. And it could also be as far as like somebody made a mistake, not even as far as like on an emotional standpoint or whatever, but you're like, hey, you fucked up, in nicer terms, but this is how this could be prevented in the future. It's not something we're going to sit here and we have to dwell on, and some, nobody has to get in trouble over, but this is something that happened. It shouldn't happen like this. This is how we're going to fix it. This is how it should have went. Ba boom. So
Oh yeah, it's one of it's like it's like a UFC fight or anything else. They always say, everybody always has a plan going into a fight until you get punched in the face really hard.
it's
You know what I
really
mean?
true.
And then it's the same thing with your career and or your guys'
Oh, he called it our career. What a
your
nice
branch and our branch or whatever you want to call it, your agency or
hobby.
ours is man, you can have a plan and you can. It's like me, man. When I wake up and like tomorrow, when I wake up and go to work, man, I'm gonna say, hey, this is what I'm gonna get done first. I'm gonna get caught up on reports. I'm gonna do this, and then karma comes along and just bitch smacks you and says, no, you're not. You're going to this, or you're gonna go to somebody laying in their floor that's been there for a week, or you know what I mean? Like it's the same thing with those calls. I mean, you and I'm sure you guys do the same thing when you're en route to a bad car or a house fire. You're like, okay, this is what I need to do. I'm going to this hydrant. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to do whatever. We're doing the same thing. We're headed to call, like, okay, who's my first issue? Is, the aggressor in the domestic or whatever the case may be. And you have a plan. You can plan all you want, man. But when you get there and a dude's standing there with a frying pan saying, come get it,
True.
you know, plans change real fast. So in those debriefs, I'm with you. You can't be too judgmental. You can't, I've seen where 200-pound muscular guys that look like they should be able to take on 20 guys, they panic in a situation or do something wrong, and it causes an issue. And afterwards, most of the time you just got to shake it off and say, hey, man, better luck next time. We learn from it. Let's not do that again. And yeah, I mean, you know,
100%, right? Like, I'm not lacking on classes. I've taken a lot of classes to try to, you know, be the best that I can, and also doing a lot of trainings. I mean, I took it upon myself. We literally built a maze in our former fire department to try to implement real life training as much as possible to try to give, I guess, give everybody the best odds that we could give them. But it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter because that's like I tell people all the time, is the easiest thing is um, going to somebody else's emergency. And that sounds really weird to say, but like I guess it's easy when you don't know the person, right? I guess that makes it a little bit easier, and your whole thought process goes a little bit smoother. But like, and what I'm getting at this is, right, is like I've been to and I'm not like trying to make it sound like I'm super firefighter. I've been on a lot of structure fires. I've been on a lot of interior jobs, and knew exactly what I needed to do, what I needed to take with me, and everything. Um, so I'll go back to 4th of July last year. Right, typical. We got 10 for a typical structure fire. We're responding. Whatever. Chief gets on the radio, lets us know that it's my brother-in-law's house. So it kind of changes things, right? Because you're like, oh my god, like it kind of, your whole thought process kind of changes. Um, like I still knew what I needed to do there, right? I still got my tools off, forced the door. Biggest crucial mistake I ever made though is I didn't grab the thermal camera, right? The conditions inside of that house was terrible, right? As far as, and it's different when you're standing outside, right? Because like this is something I don't expect you guys to know, right? But so the worst thing that could happen is all the smoke, all the heat, everything. The house. There's a flip side to this because if the house would have vented itself, like per se, windows would have busted, would have started feeding a lot of oxygen in the house, would have took off a lot more. If it would have vented through the roof, same thing. Once you introduce more oxygen to a fire, it's going to take off. So it did contain the fire to a certain point, but on the flip side of that is it was probably 10 times hotter in the house than it would have been, and visibility was absolutely zero in there. It was like it is insane to walk inside of a house fire like that and it'd be bright as hell outside and you walk inside and it's like somebody turned the lights off, right? And there are just several factors that like I look back at like, man, I really things I could have did differently. In all my training, it sounds really weird. In the situation, it kind of goes out the door. Not like I'm walking in here like just off the street, like, oh, I'm gonna walk through here. But I think back at the mistakes that I made, like things I could have did differently. Like if I'd have grabbed my thermal imaging camera, could I have did a better search? Could I communicated better? Could I did this? Could I did that? Um, and it's just things that like I said, like it's different when you go to somebody else's house and you don't know the person or whatever, and then somebody you know. So that's kind of one of those things is like the situation. Like you said, you are trained to know what you're doing, but like you said, you go into everybody knows what they're doing, and especially I think going into a fight until you get punched in the face, right? And then
Yeah.
that kind of changes everything. And I had that experience where I got punched in the face, where there's mistakes that I made purely off of emotion, right? And I'm sure you guys get put in a situation like that a lot more than we do, per se, because we're not, obviously we're responding to a house fire. We're not directly dealing with the victim per se, right? Like we're.
Right.
But you guys, 95% of your guys' calls are face to face with somebody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just one of them things, man. Yeah, you're always learning, and that's what I always tell our newer folks in the police world is that you're never gonna stop learning. You're never gonna stop, training. It never ends. And just when you think you know everything or you think you've got the job down to a T, you don't. Something else comes up, and you're like, oh wow, crap, I never thought of this, or again, you get that punch in the face in the middle of the fight that you're just like, uh-oh, or something changes, or I mean, I've been on so many wild calls, man, that you know, uh, it's nice as you get more senior and you get more years in and you get more experience that you can grab the younger guys and say, hold on, stop, stop, stop. Just take a breath here. Let's think about things, I always use an example of we went to this call where a male supposedly had a firearm. He was going to hurt himself or other people, whatever. And we come up to the house, just, I mean, adrenaline dumping. We're going in, you know what I mean? And she's like, he's down in the basement. He's down in the basement. She's like, in the middle of this happening, and we're heading toward the door and we're going in. She's like, oh, by the way, he's blind. And a younger officer just started.
hold on a second.
Yeah.
This guy's supposed to have the firearm and he's blind.
Yeah. So like the officer in front of me is entering the door. She says this. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, time out, stop. Everybody stop. I was like, hold position. I was like, ma'am, did you say he's blind? And she goes, yeah, he's legally blind. He can't see at all. And I was like, okay. So I told the young officers, like, let's stop. Stop, don't go in yet. So I just yelled into the door as loud as I could, you know. I'm like, police, if you're in there, you better have your hands up. And he's like, yeah, I'm in here. And I was like, do you have a firearm anywhere near you? He goes, no, I don't know where it is. I'm blind. And I was like, sir, when I come around that corner, I was like, your hands had better be in the air. And I said, as high as they can get. And, you know, we still took our time and we cleared it.
Sure.
And we come around the corner, and sure enough, you know, the firearm was away from him. His hands were in the air, but it was just one of those, like right in the middle of the heat about just something changed like that. And you're like, okay, hold on, we can relax a little bit. Let's handle this a different way, you know.
You go around that he's holding a banana.
Yeah, he was holding nothing, but it was wild. It was sitting over on the nightstand, and it was a whole thing. But like, yeah, it was wild, man. I never expected that when she said that. Right? I mean, and like I said, we're already feet in the door. We're heading in to handle business, and that's when she told us, and it was wild, man. But
It's crazy, right? Because, like you said, you use that legally blind, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, damn, this guy like straight up Ray Charles blind, or this guy like, oh,
yeah,
it's dark. I kind of can't see when I drive at night. Kind of.
yeah,
But but this guy's a straight sharpshooter.
yeah.
Regardless, yeah.
I'll say this, man. The guy had no pupils. His eyes were whited over, man. I don't know
wow.
if
He
it
was
was cataract or he was straight up couldn't see, man. But
Yeah,
it was wild.
like I say, when you notice that most people, are blind like that, then they normally have that like white, like gray looking look to it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Hunter, what is your opinions on this, man? You're just kind of sitting there being a weirdo. What's going on?
I've just been thinking about the different calls that we've debriefed on. I mean, I've been a firefighter now for a little over a year, but I've had debriefs on calls where, I've seen people who have passed away. And during that was one of the first times I've seen that on a call. And during those circumstances, yeah, it's great to debrief with your new guys. Even the more experienced guys, check in on them. But I've even had some of my firefighter friends come to me afterwards on a tree down. Like, hey, you made good cuts on the tree. And yeah, that maybe sounds kind of dumb, but those things still matter nonetheless, especially for the newer guys that are coming on. Like, you know, who knows how much experience they've had? Who knows how much experience they've had doing that in a structured setting like a fire call? So debrief, even if
Encouragement,
it's
right? I
something
mean,
mundane.
encouragement. It doesn't really matter what profession you're in. Encouraging, your people make a big difference, right? I mean, Sean tells people like, "Hey, man, like you did a good job handling that, that woman back there. She was, pretty erratic when we got there, and you were able to kind of de-escalate, and that can change the whole, way a call could go. You know,
Yeah.
it really does. People don't realize that. Like even just the way you talk to people can make a huge difference.
I would have never known from Hunter's mustache that he only has a year there, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
That's a 2 or 3 year mustache going on over there.
guys,
It's a
like
fake one. Yeah, I'm a
big
fraud.
Yeah.
smoke eater, huh?
I know.
So to the two
So
of you, because both of you have a bit more experience in, policing and firefighting, on calls that you've been the senior guy, when have you decided to let the newer guys take the lead versus knowing when to take the lead? Is there, I guess, certain calls that it's easier to do that on, or how do you make the decision to let people learn versus needing to take command of the scene?
do you want to go first, Sean, or you want to go?
It's up to you, brother.
Okay, I'll go. Probably just the severity of the call, right? So it's one of those things where, in the back of my head, doing this as long as I have, is I look at things a little bit differently sometimes. Liability sometimes. Um, it's one of those things where sometimes I think like, okay, well, one, it comes down to training sometimes. With Sean and them, it's kind of different because I mean, most people have equivalent training for the most part. There's some things that some officers may have that some others don't, but on a legality standpoint, obviously us on the fire side, there's certain things you can and cannot do depending on your training. Um, so that kind of goes through my head. a little bit. Also, um, is this the first time you've ever did it? This and Sean's probably on the same side. Like, is this the first time they've ever dealt with this situation like this? Maybe should I, kind of still take the lead, but let them help? Kind of situation. So I mean, sometimes, and it just depends on. There's a lot of environments that goes into that. Like, it's one of those things where how many other people are around. Is this a time sensitive matter? Is this, kind of that? That's my kind of standpoint on it. Like, the severity of it, and like, you know, the environment, and time sensitive. Like, it's kind of the way I look at it. Also, kind of, I guess like a huge dick. It's got maybe it depends if I like the person or not. I mean, it's maybe one of those things where, like, what, this guy's been being a fucking dick recently. I ain't letting him do shit. And
That would
then
explain why
sometimes,
I
I
never
mean,
get to
well,
date anyone.
honestly, and no, but what I'm getting at with that is sometimes is, did this person really, have they been working, and do they even deserve the opportunity for me to let them do stuff? Yeah, thanks, I appreciate it. I appreciate taking me for my service. But no, really though. I mean, sometimes if I see some guy really working towards something, and then I got some other guy who's just being lazy and just showing up and stuff, I'm probably gonna let the person that's actually working towards, making themselves better, an opportunity rather than somebody just lazy.
Yeah. No, and dude, and I agree with what you said wholeheartedly. It for us in the police world, it's going to be the same thing, man. If your day one is a cop, and your first call I go to you with is, hey, there's a guy in there armed. He's got a hand grenade and he's about to use it. Well, obviously, I'm not going to be like, go get him, little feller. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be like, all right, time out. But I mean, and I agree. I'm gonna let you handle everything I can to the most that I can, because that's and that when I first became a sergeant, that was a very tough thing for me to learn, because, like, dude, I'm gun ho. I go, I handle it, and I'm getting it. So when I had to finally step back and say, hey, it's time to let this younger guy handle it, that's a very tough. Uh, you don't want to let go of those reins sometimes. You know what I mean? You don't want to nudge the little baby bird out of the nest and say go fly, because you also know that uh, that can cause an issue. You know what I mean? If they don't flap their wings, they're hitting the ground, and so you always it's real tough, man, and that's a tough thing to. But once you get into that mode where you're like, all right, I'm letting guys handle everything. There's a lot of times that I kind of agree with Johnny. If it's a young guy and he has a chip on his shoulder, I'm gonna let him do a little bit more than I would some other guy, just to say, okay, because I want him to have to turn around and look at me and say, I screwed up. What do I do? You know what I mean? Because, like,
Yeah.
okay, so now you understand. I know what I'm doing. You know
Well,
what I
that's
mean? Or
part
like,
of it, right? That's
yeah,
also part of learning, is admitting that you've made mistakes. I mean, it's one of those things where um you don't, it's not a lot of this stuff, right? It's like, it's some of it just life, right? Some of the
yeah.
stuff, it's that you don't really know until you did it, type thing. It's not something you learned in school. Um, and you know, I think that's probably one of the, and I used to have a lot of trouble with this, is like admitting when I was wrong, or admitting that I made mistakes. But then eventually, as I kind of got older, and admitting that, that like, maybe I did fuck up. Maybe that was
Oh,
my
we've all
fault. You
done
know
it.
what I mean? But sometimes, and I feel like, even I don't know, and I feel like this is a lot worse. Maybe being, as being a man, I feel like it's a lot of our pride and our ego. It's hard to admit that sometimes. Like, yeah, maybe I did fuck up. Maybe this one is on me. It's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah. That's one of those
No,
deals
but
where you always say, "You." Oh, sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
oh, you're good. I was just gonna say. I mean, I can
You
appreciate
should have
you
used your
all
hand raise
coming
motion
from
in the thing. But you should.
coming from the perspective of letting the younger guys take over at some point when you know it's something they can handle. Because there's been several calls I've been on working with other departments where, nothing against the more experienced 50, 60, year old guys, but I've been working a hose line, and this older 40, 50-year old comes up, just takes the nozzle out of my hand and starts doing what he wants to do. But how long has he been on it versus the opportunity that I've had to be on it? Because I think there are some guys with more experience who don't like to let other people have a chance to learn, and I think that's its own problem.
Yeah, yeah, and nobody likes to have the nozzle taken out of their hands. You know what I mean? I don't know about that, but I get what you're saying. You know what I mean?
I'm like,
But
I don't even know if I can relate. He's like, but
yeah,
if I could put
but
myself in your shoes, that doesn't sound like something I'd want to happen to
no, I
me.
mean I get what you're saying. Like as far as like it stinks when you think you're handling a situation or you've got an opportunity to succeed and somebody comes up and just yanks it out of your hands. You know what I mean? Whether it be the call itself or whatever they would compare it are. And Dalton, I'm not 30, brother. Appreciate you though. Yeah, so it's tough, man, and sometimes it's tough for the older guys with experience to let that happen as well. You know what I mean? It was tough for me a little bit, man, because like I was so used to just when you work like back when I was a midnight shift guy, I was it, man. I didn't have backup unless it was another agency, and I was used to handling it. So like when I made sergeant and was like, okay, it's time to let other people handle it and me just monitor what they're doing. It was a tough thing for a while. Um, Now someone that obviously has been, if you said older, then I mean he should have surpassed that by now, and whatever. Unless he really thought you weren't doing a good job or whatever, that's where you come
I
up and
would.
say, hey man, uh, here's an idea, or hey, maybe try this, or I always tell my young guys when they're in training is like, you'll know when you need help. Just look at me and like give me the stare of I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and then I'll take over. Like I let them talk until they're looking at me and they got this confused look on their face, like, and then then you're like, all right, I got it from here, and I'll just take over talking. You know what I mean? But in our field, we do a lot of talking. You know what I mean, with the people themselves, and that dictates how the situation goes. So sometimes we get a lot of guys that just they get that deer in the headlights look, and you have to take over for them. Be like, all right, what my guy here is trying to say is here's what we can do. I'll just jump in and whatever. But yeah, it's an important thing, man. It's a tough thing, but it's important. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I fully agree. And Hunter, you bringing that up, right? Oh, don't be a crybaby. But
That was a good
no,
question, though.
it was a good question. So it's one of those things, right, where I feel like it doesn't matter what profession you're in. Um, Newer people are coming in, and you always feel like you are, especially when you're older like that, right? You feel like you're kind of you're on your way out the door, and I feel like some of these guys they can't accept that, and they feel like they're kind of just trying to reach out and try to grab that last little bit to I don't know, like kind of I don't know, either let people know like they still got it type thing, or they just don't want to. They just try to basically prevent you from I don't know, getting the experience. Like maybe they think, well, if this guy, maybe the longer I can keep them not know what they're doing, they'll need me around.
That
Um,
definitely plays into it. I think there's some relevance of it's like, dude, now where I'm at the department, man, I'm
they're old.
well, I'm act like you didn't say that, brother. No, I'm
Oh, you're
just
30. I forgot. My bad.
no, yeah, he said I'm 30, man. So like where I'm at, now even more so that the chiefs left, the deputy chiefs moved up. Like technically, in the grand scheme of things, I'm number two at the department now, and
Woo!
yeah, dude, but it's tough, man, because I still want to be in that cruiser and chasing bad guys, man, and my job becomes less and less of that, and it's tough, man, especially at my age because I advanced pretty quickly in my career for being 9 years in, and being number two at the department is not an easy thing uh, to take on. It's not an easy thing. There's a lot of stress involved with it, and you know, uh, there's times where I'm like, dude, I'd turn it on tomorrow and just go right back to patrolling the streets at midnight. You know what I mean? Because my life was easier, but it's just a different level of it. But yeah, like where I'm at now, dude, I'm in that phase right now where it's real hard to let go of being out on the streets, and it's I'm in that phase of it's now I got to let not only the guys handle the calls, but I got to let the supervisors below me handle those guys that handles the call, and then me catch the aftermath of that and try, so it's like it's a
Especially
different.
when you want to be there, right? Like you want to be like, ah, man, I knew, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah. We're gonna keep discussing some other topics. If anybody has any questions or something they want to talk about, please give us some questions. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we need questions to TikTok and Facebook and everybody else in the world.
I guess. Well, okay. So, Sean, obviously I interviewed you. If you were the first person I ever had come on the podcast. So Hunter knows, and maybe some people that didn't see it. So obviously you're in the Coast Guard. So you guys pretty much just hung out on boats and had barbecues and stuff like that and stuff.
Yeah. No. Close.
And so then once you got out, I think you were at Comcast, right? You're an installer.
I did work at Comcast.
You actually said you were making better money at Comcast than you were whenever you first started in law enforcement.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I dropped, I think, $5 or $6 an hour. Yeah. Now, of course, at the time, now I'm making, but yeah.
Making that big money now.
Yeah.
Big LT money.
Yeah, and I will say in the Coast Guard, I did learn firefighting. So I do know some firefighting stuff, I held a couple nozzles back then, you know what I'm saying?
I held a couple nozzles last weekend.
Oh, wouldn't you like to know about a firefighter, boy? No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe I'll find out. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I know where your watering hole is.
That's right.
But yeah, so then what really made you, like, I don't know, I guess say, like, I want to be a cop. I guess something I want to do for the rest of my life. Because obviously it's something that, like, you had to really think about. And then once you get into it, you're like, this is really still something I wanted to do.
Well, without going into too much detail, when I was a kid, I had a situation when my parents were divorcing that the police ended up at our house. And this was probably, dude, I was young, maybe 13, 14-ish. And, man, like, I remember seeing a trooper, not to give the troopers a big head, but I remember seeing a trooper in his green uniform, man, and just, this dude was a big old dude, and he was the man, and he was, come up and treated me really well. And I just thought they were super cool, man. And then, of course, that was the era that cops came out on TV. Trooper? No.
Oh.
But that was when
I got out of it.
Yeah, that's when, yeah. As soon as I started being a cop and realizing that troopers weren't all the way I thought they were. No, they're good dudes, but, they're a different breed than what, of course, you realize when you're a kid. But, like, and, of course, Cops was a big show at the time. So, man, me and my buddy were.
Hell yeah. Cops was shit back in the day, right?
Me and my buddy would kick in my brother's room door and just attack him. You know what I mean? We'd be like police and.
The damn door, yeah. Put your fucking hands up.
Yeah, he didn't even do anything wrong. We just went after him. You know what I mean? So that was like, but I always had that thing. I think a lot of young men always want to be a cop or a firefighter, whatever. But I did do law enforcement in the Coast Guard, believe it or not. I was part of an anti-terrorism unit.
God damn, Sean, what else did you do? Did you also cook the food?
No, you wouldn't want. I mean, I can cook, but you wouldn't want me cooking it back then. But I joined a anti-terrorism unit where I got a lot of law enforcement experience. It's a lot different on the water, of course, but that kind of got my first time I put on a weapons belt and a vest and felt tactically cool and whatever. So yeah, when I worked at Comcast, I was there about 6 years, and man, let me tell you, I had a lot of internal struggle, man, because I'd gotten out of the military. I had a lot of depression because of it, man. Like, they medically retired me because I had some issues with my knees, and I was kind of bitter about that. I still thought I was useful, but not that they didn't think I was useful, but
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, well, maybe, but
fucking guy out of here.
Yeah, they're like, get him out. And I can't complain, man, because I'm covered by the VA. I get a little check for, I can't complain, man.
Yeah,
but
listen, this guy's got to get big LT money.
Yeah, that's how I got this fancy apartment.
He's like, yeah. Oh my God.
I got a Bentley out back, bro.
He's
no
like,
big
you
deal.
living here? No, you're not. You're not.
No, but whenever I was working at Comcast, man, I saw a lot. like I sometimes thought I saw more crazy stuff working at Comcast than I do as a cop. And I know
Oh,
that
dude.
sounds
Well, the
wild to
funny
say,
thing
but
is, right, is like some of the houses you went into
oh, dude,
were
they don't- and
insane.
if they don't call the police ain't never gonna see it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like, dude, I'll
Or
never.
you do see it. That's another
Oh,
topic
bro.
we'll bring up after. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Finish, and then we'll bring that.
I went into a house, and it was in a southern area, south of Morgantown, and man, and I'll never forget, this woman had trash stacked probably 3 feet high in her home.
Holy crap.
And I mean, I had to walk across trash to get to her cable box. She was asking me what she was going to do next month when her power went out, if she would still have internet. And I'll never forget, her little girl had a hairbrush and was literally combing a piece of carpet probably 3 inches around. It was the only bare spot in the entire place, and she was combing, and her mom's like, "Yeah, when you're done sweeping that up, I got more stuff for you to clean up." I shit you not, that's what she said to her daughter. And dude, I remember standing there thinking, like, holy crap, like I'm literally helping ruin America.
And
And I
you're a
knew
dad.
that, yeah,
Right? Like, and
and
that's the thing. It's like Sean's a dad at the time, so imagine
yeah,
you know what your kids, you have kids at home. So like, I think that people don't realize that too. Like, and I used to not have that thought process. I was like, once you have a kid, your
oh,
brain's different, right? Like you
oh
process
yeah,
information differently, and the first thing you think of when you see something bad like that, you think about your own kids.
yeah, yeah, and I remember reporting it to the security of Comcast, because they had this number we called, and we're like, "Hey, there's something here messed up. You guys got to call the police or whatever." And and I remember leaving there, and dude, I kept thinking, like, I'm doing a job where I'm literally giving people internet to just sit in front of their computer, rot their life away. Not that that's not what we're doing right now, kind of, but yeah, just I felt like I was contributing to society's downfall versus helping society. And I ended up fixing my ex-chief. Well, he wasn't the chief at the time, but a guy who's several police officers cable. And one of them gave me a book to study to become a cop. The one guy told me I should be a cop. And at the time, I was just like, man, I've had these two police officers said I should be a cop, and I was like, I think I should too. And
Think they regret it now,
there's times. Oh
or do you
yeah.
think they regret it, not you?
No, I wouldn't think they would. Um, is that preacher? Yeah, that's me, buddy. Um, yeah, there's times I regret it now. You know what I mean? Because the shit I've seen and the stuff I've been through, and I'm sure the same for you guys. It wears on your family. You know what I mean? When that fire alarm goes off at midnight and you're walking out the door, running out the door, and same for us, man. The countless hours that I spend working versus time with my family. I've worked every weekend for 9 years, damn near. You know what I mean? That stuff wears on you, and so there's times that I'm like, man, I should have never done it. And I hate to say that, but it happens. You know what I mean? It being realistic, but I also wouldn't change it for the world. You know what I mean? But that's how I got into it.
Yeah, no, I understand that. What you just brought up was super funny. How you said that like the countless hours and stuff. I I remember this one. I had an interaction one time. What the hell's what the hell is somebody tapping on their Hunter? What are you doing?
Hunter, you typing a novel over there, brother?
I remember this one time. I was in the interstate for probably maybe an hour and a half, maybe on an accident one time, and it was just pouring down the rain the whole entire time. Well, we couldn't. Honestly, it was more dangerous to be in the truck than it was to be standing out in the rain. And I mean, I was completely soaked, and I was so ready to go home. And we're waiting for a tow to come. And his fucking tow truck driver backs up, backs through the median. Instead of driving around, backs through the median, hooks up to this car without even getting out of the tow truck. It hooks up to it, and then asks one of my guys if they would come over and pick the bumper up off the ground and put it in the back of the car. And I'm like, is this guy fucking serious? Like, I've been out here for an hour and a half and it's pouring down the rain, and this guy shows up 5 minutes ago, doesn't even get out of the tow truck, and thinks we're about to do something for him like that? I said, absolutely not.
No good.
I said, absolutely not. We're leaving. absolutely not.
Yeah.
I said, let's go. I remember,
Get in
he
the,
rolled
get in the
down the
truck.
window.
We're
He
out.
rolled down. I did. I was like, we're going. And he rolls down the window and he said, you guys really not going to do that? I said, absolutely not. He said, it's okay. I'll go ahead and call Kenny. And I was sitting there. I said, you know what? I said, you call Kenny.
Yeah.
I was, man, I tell you what, I was pretty heated, especially because sometimes I think that people do not consider that the situation other people are just in.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've been out there for an hour and a half, and so. This is a kind of another thing is right. It is so easy when you are on your way to work to get annoyed that you run into traffic. You're like, I can't believe I'm sitting in traffic. I'm gonna be late for work. And little do you know that somebody is absolutely mutilated half a mile up the road, and their family is sitting possibly in the car, outside of the car. Their family member is literally mutilated up here,
Yeah.
and they're going through the worst day of their life, and you're pissed off because you're not going to be able to stop at Starbucks before you go to work.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Oh, brother, that's literally one of the worst. I always tell people, you want to lose all faith in humanity, direct traffic at an accident scene or a fire or whatever it may be. Just have to stand there in direct traffic, for hell, for that matter, traffic at Kingdom Church around Christmas time. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I
Like,
know, I know. If
dude,
they weren't paying you guys so much
oh
money, you probably
man,
wouldn't do it.
oh brother, quick story. I had this old lady one time, and I'm literally standing in the middle of the road. I had my Guardian on flashing. I got my flashlight going like this, and I'm standing in the middle of the lane, wiggling the light back and forth at her, and she kept coming. And kept coming and kept coming. Dude, I finally almost jumped to get out of the way, and I almost slapped her hood. And she stopped, and she was like, I didn't know what you wanted me to do. And dude, every ounce of normalness in me left the window. My spirit left my body. And I was like, I can't remember what I said to her, but it was something to the effects of, no, I'm standing in the middle of the road because I want you to fucking run me over. That's what I want.
Yeah,
I want
that
you to
is the
drive the
hardest thing,
car
to keep
straight
that
through me.
professionalism sometimes,
Oh,
right?
man. Woo. I was
Because you're
heated.
like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah,
what
because,
are you? I remember there's times where I've been directing traffic before too, and well, not now because I'm not a peasant, so like I make Hunter go do stuff like that now. But
oh,
I'm just,
damn.
yeah,
Hey.
no, I'm just, but no, and you're like, what are you doing? Like you're about to literally run me over, lady, because
Yeah.
you're not paying attention. Like, and people don't realize that, right? Like I am. Oh, sorry. Um, like people don't realize, and that is how people die every day because literally there was a law created for you to move over because so many people are getting killed because you want to be distracted or you want to do something like these lights are not. I mean, especially today, these lights are so bright you can see them miles
Oh,
down the
gosh.
road.
Yeah.
The least that you can do is pay attention for the 30 feet that you have to drive past an accident scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we're asking you for 10 miles to sit there and keep your hands on 10 and 2 and, sit there and stare out the windshield. Like,
Yeah.
30 feet.
We're not trying to hold up your day, but
Right.
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is I've been in situations before, and I'm sure you've been in situations before where you're like, man, you're like, should I open up the road? You're like, because I do feel bad. You're like, because we have traffic backed up 8 miles. You're like, but what happens if I open up the road and somebody comes through here and just runs all of us over and kills us? Is it
Oh,
worth
yeah.
me opening the road up or not? And that's a hard judgment call, especially in the interstate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the interstate's a whole nother world. I was just thinking we should get a tow truck driver on here at some point when we yell at him for that bumper thing. Nah, but yeah, that's a wild thing, man, because I was going to say my tow truck thing, man, is when, tow truck drivers are kind of expected to pick up the debris. You know what I mean? It's in the PSC thing that they're supposed to do that. So, like, man, I've never been madder when I watch a tow truck driver come up. They hooked up to that car and they're looking at you like, all right, guys, we're going to catch you later. And you look over and there's just parts of the car all over the road. And I'm like, whoa, like, hey, man, you, like, are we just going to litter today? Are we going to pick up these people? You know, and some
Or
tow
they
truck
take
drivers,
it and
man, are
throw
really
it in
good.
the fucking ditch. And I'm like,
Yeah, I'm not cool with that either, man. I get mad at that. And I'll say like some tow truck companies are really good about that. I have some family members that work at a tow truck company. They're amazing about that stuff. I've watched them sweep. I've watched them. They got brooms on they're ready to roll. But then I've seen other ones, and we can all probably name a certain one in town that like they don't even care if
hell
the
yeah.
car's strapped down. They don't even care if their tow truck even lifts it off the ground, although they'll drag it sideways with no wheels on it down the road, and they're just like,
I've
yeah,
been
we're
there
going.
before where we pulled up and I'm like, damn, this really ain't that bad. And then whenever he left, I'm like, yo, this fucking thing is total now.
Yeah,
I'm like, how did the
yeah.
guy that's towing the car show up and do more damage than this woman just did in an accident?
Oh, brother, yeah.
No, that's super hilarious how that kind of happened, right? But yeah, no, I fully agree. Yeah, so it states, I'm pretty sure it states in there that the tow truck company is responsible for any debris and
Yep.
also fluids in the roadway. You
Yep.
have to be able to, yeah. And I would honestly be very surprised if there's more than 2 tow trucks probably in the entire county that actually carry a Zorball,
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's many. I
if
wouldn't
any
say
at
there's
all.
many. Yeah.
Yep, if any at all. Kind of insane. I think I have actually only been on one accident ever, and I've been in a lot of accidents, that I've ever seen a tow truck company actually throw down some Azor ball. And I was
Yeah.
like, but I tell you what, there's been times where, like if I was in charge and I'm like, hey, listen, like, I want to go home. Everybody grab some brooms. We're gonna clean this up. We're gonna help this guy get this out of the way. And then there's some times where, depending on, how long we've been sitting there waiting, if they were fucking around with the car, you know, due to their own
Yeah.
ignorance, I'm like, all right. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I was like, we're gonna stand here and watch this guy sweep all this up. I've did it before. I ain't gonna lie to you. Sometimes I'm more willing to help, and then sometimes I'm like, you know what? It ain't my job.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I'll
depending
pick it.
on their attitude too, right? Like it's somebody that like I've always had a good interaction with and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'll help him out. No big deal and stuff. But like, fuck this guy. But he about
Yeah.
to sweep this whole highway up by himself.
Yeah. And if I know the car's trashed and it's a total, I'll grab parts and throw it in the back seat or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
but again, it's normally when it's somebody like I got some family members that work for the tow companies. I'll help them out. If it's a company that I respect and they do their job, I got no problem helping them. But
Right.
if there's a few of them, man. And I won't name names, but there's a few of them I won't help. And I've sent one away from the scene. I was like, your truck's not even legal. See you later. And I called Mecca and said, send me the next one. I
So
was like,
my biggest annoyance is how obviously there's a list for a reason, right? And there's been situations before in the past where that list has caused some pretty there's some astronomical
right.
consequences caused by that. We won't get into that, but you know, um, and that list is very strict for a reason. And when you have somebody that's like just pulls up and I'm here, just let me go ahead and take it. Like, no, buddy, that's not the way that goes.
Yeah.
If this was your call and we let somebody else pull up and take it, you'd feel the same type of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's a stay professional. It's just the way it is, man. Like, um, I don't know. That's probably the tow service is probably the weirdest thing around here, or just like the way that it is. It's very unregulated,
Well,
and
and it's supposed to be, though. It's supposed to be regulated and it's supposed to be, but I don't think that's happened in a while. And I've brought that up several times. I'm like, where's the checks? Where's the balances on that? Battle of the mustaches? I don't know. You tell
I
us, chat, who wears it better? You know what I mean? They kind of got the handlebar thing going on. I'm not allowed to have mine down that low.
yeah, the handlebar thing. That's
No.
more firefighter type thing. You guys got like the
Yeah, ours
I
ain't
don't
allowed to go below our lip. Mine's a little
Yeah,
long because I got till tomorrow when you know what I'm saying, so I let it
you
grow a
guys
little
got that
bit.
kind of like standing and like across the street when like
The standing at attention stash.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was gonna say like there's a playground or something across the street. But,
I didn't hear what you said. Your mic cut out.
oh, sorry. Maybe it's better that you didn't hear. I said maybe standing across the street when there's a playground across the street or
Oh gosh.
something. No, okay, so we'll go back to the way back. You were bringing up about like the conditions that like sometimes people are living in, right? Like it's insane. Like there's sometimes
Oh yeah.
on the fire side, this is probably the worst time of the year for fires, right? And the reason why is because I don't know. Life is really hard sometimes. And I always say that most of us are one or two paychecks away from being homeless, right? About true, especially these days. Um, so it is very hard. It's sometimes I'm very judgmental, but I try not to be sometimes. I try not to judge people's situations because I do not know what kind of cards they were dealt. Some people grew up really hard. Some people, now, don't get me wrong. I do believe that that some people are where they're at because of hard work, and then I also know that some people are where they're at because of who they know, and
Yeah.
what kind of situation they were brought up in. There's a lot of people that were handed things and opportunities and stuff just based off of their parents or their family or just whatever. Um, so some people aren't dealt with that. I'm not saying in any ways the way that you were raised is the way that you should be, right? Because obviously you get to a certain point where you know stuff's right or wrong.
Yeah.
But it's hard because like I said, I don't know. Like I said, like I guess I can see why some people are in the situation that they're in, but then also just because you don't have a lot of money does not mean that you have to be gross. Filthy, dirty,
Yeah.
yeah, because like I've been to some places that I'm like, holy crap, dude, like this is bad. Like there's a trash can right there, and there's no trash in the can and it's all over your floor.
Right.
What is going on?
Yeah, you still control your environment. You know what I mean? I've seen homeless people that built a little shack or cabin in the woods out of wood and boards and sticks they found. And then I've seen the homeless people that live in a pile of their own trash. I mean, it just you may not control how you got to where you're at, but you control where you're at. You know what I mean? You can change it yourself, and I think that's whether you call it mental health, whether you call it whatever, man. And some of those places and houses, man. I mean, they're yeah, they may be a product of their environment growing up, but they still control it. You know what I mean? And I'll never understand that living in, nothing says you can't take a trash bag and fill it up. I don't care how you grew up or if you were kicked around or, whatever your life situation may be, you know. Yeah, I moved to the end of the ship. I got a guy in my chat that he works for Comcast still. And he said he was in a house like that yesterday, ruined his mood till the end of shift. And it does. When you see that, you're like, you almost can't even wrap your head around it. It's tough, man. And I've been there several times. I still laugh about a call that I was at. I don't work for Comcast. I'm talking about the guy above you there. Sorry I missed your call, brother. But so like I went to a house, man, that the guy was passed out and trash. He was under the influence of liquid medicine that he had had way too much of. And I'll never forget walking into his kitchen, man. And I wish I was joking,
Is
but
it like
dude,
devil's nectar?
no, yeah, no, he was on alcohol. But well, yeah, I guess the devil knows. Yeah, but he was this cockroach. I kid you not, was standing up on his hind legs by a microwave, bro, like almost leaning against it
Oh
like
my!
this. And it was like I swear its arm was going like this,
Well,
like it
look like
was.
there's a guy at the corner
Yeah,
store just posted up.
I got body camera footage of it somewhere, and I laugh about it to this day because I was like, I swear that cockroach was asking me
I
for
want to
help,
see it. I
bro.
want to see a gift made of it now.
Yeah.
You
Like
owe me that.
the cockroach literally wanted me to get it out of that situation. You know what I mean? It's like, please help me.
You had to call
You know?
CPS for the cockroach.
Yeah, like, you
Holy
know,
crap.
it's wild, man. You know?
Yeah, especially where me and Hunter are no longer, but obviously you still work in that area. Um, it's a little bit of a rough part, right?
Oh
A
yeah.
little bit of a rough area. And I've been in some houses, really apartments, but some apartments down there where I walked in, I was like, holy shit, this is bad in here. And
Yeah.
there's kids in here, and the outlets are on the floor.
Yeah.
Like the outlets are actually pulled 2 feet out of the wall on the floor. Like I went to charge my phone, but I didn't want to sit on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
They were
And
like, you know what, I'm just gonna take it with me.
and you know, and on what you're saying about the rough neighborhoods is my buddy here in my chat could tell you. Sometimes you'd be surprised, man. It's not just the areas that you think of. Like I've been to a house that was in a community that would shock you, like $1 million community, and I'll never forget this lady. And it's one of the richest areas in Morgantown, and she had literally no furniture. There was trash and vomit all over the floor, and this lady was like
Fucking
basically.
rager, dude.
Yeah, and I was blown away by it, man. I mean, she was like, this was in a neighborhood that you would not expect it, and I was just baffled by it, man. And it wasn't like she had any. I don't know if there's some mental health issues or whatever, but she was a put together lady. I mean, pretty lady, nice house on the outside, and you walked in, and you're like, I mean, she even had I want to say she drove like a Mercedes or a BMW, and then I went
Man,
inside the house, and I was like, dude, literally all her money goes to that house and car for an appearance, and on the inside, disaster. You know, and I'll never forget that, man. That was wild to me, you know. But it's all walks of life. It's all neighborhoods. It's just, but as a police officer, we may not go to that house ever, or as a firefighter, because, uh, we wouldn't go there because if they don't have a fire, if they don't call the police, if they don't, we wouldn't know it's there.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that sometimes like we don't realize what kind of like horrors people are living in. Like I
Yeah.
mean, at home, right? Like now Hunter used to work in some um social services per se, and so Hunter, now this probably hits a little bit more home for you, where they were talking about how 99 or 90% of CPS cases last year were like failed. Like the whole state
Yeah,
is being like looked at, like investigated due to like the CPS just straight being dog shit, basically.
yeah. I used to
Right? Is
work
that my
in
understanding on that? Yeah.
back before. I don't know the exact statistics, but I know they are an overstressed system. I used to work before I work in medicine now, but I used to work for early childhood education, primarily with low income families. So I went into a lot of those homes that, had a lot less ideal living circumstances. And, they may not have furniture, stacked trash everywhere. Kids maybe don't have diapers, like just different things that maybe some people can take for granted. But I was just thinking from the education piece of that too. Unfortunately, around this time of year, those houses, those living environments that maybe are a little bit more down on their luck, unfortunately, are the ones that are at highest risk of catching fire as well. I mean, a lot of space
Absolutely.
heaters start up around this time of year,
Yeah, that's what I'm
and
talking
with
about
all
this
of that
time
Yeah.
of the year,
extra
man.
close
It's
by, it lights
crazy.
up. And consequently, even the response of those living environments is hard. I mean, it's hard enough with low visibility in a building, but you go in and now there's suddenly a room full of toys or clothes or trash where it makes it that much harder to navigate. It's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I can literally go back and think of damn near every call that I've been on like that as a police officer. I always particularly remember one that like you know the situation was so sad, man, and I won't go too much into it other than the kid tried to hurt himself or self harm. And when we got and that's the call we got. Kid tried to attempt to hurt himself, and he tried to. And I don't want to say too much for social media, but he tried to end his life by a belt in his closet. And this kid was about 8 or 9 years old, and I'll never forget the first minute we went into the home. That immediately the smell of ammonia hit me so strong.
The cat
Uh,
piss.
yeah, dude, my eyes started my eyes were watering uncontrollably. I had trouble breathing. Um, there was feces and piss everywhere, man. I mean, everywhere. The kid's mattress in his bedroom was covered in it, and I remember, the kid just sitting there on the mattress, man, and it's a tough it's a tough thing, me being a father, to see that. And man, I just remember patting the kid on the back, and I said, "Hey, buddy," and I kneeled down beside him, even though I didn't want to because it was so nasty. But I said, "What's going on, man?" And he said, "I'm just tired of kids picking on me at school." And dude, I'm telling you, it took every ounce of humanity I had not to lose it on his parents at the time. Um, and you know, EMS got there shortly after. They ended up, loading him up in the ambulance for precautionary measures and taking him to the hospital. I'm sure he was fine, because obviously his choice and his method was not great, and thank God. But
Yeah, but it's sad that he even had the thought to do
oh,
that, right?
dude,
Like even had the idea in his
insane,
head that if he would have
insane.
had the right, he would have did it, right? That's
Yeah, yeah. It hurts, man. Still to this day, I think about that kid, and um, I'll never forget going out to dad, and my emotions hit me, man. And I looked at the dad, and I said, "Hey, sir," I said, Your son said he's getting picked on," and he said, "Yeah, it's been pretty rough on him." And I said, "Sir, do you ever think of why?" And and I'm trying to, I'm in my head, I'm still calculating how I'm going to do this
and you're
without.
trying to be professional,
Oh,
right? Because like
bro.
that's the hardest thing is that like the first thing you want to do is like go out and just like grab this guy by his fucking neck and be like, bring him in here and be like, you fucking caused this, right? Like this is all on you, and it's even worse if the kid would have died, right? Because then like the parents would be just absolutely so upset, and it's like you guys fucking caused this, like this is all because of you,
Yeah,
like and like to have to stay professional in that situation is hard, right? Because like
yeah,
the first thing, like it's just human nature. You just want to like take your anger out on somebody, right?
yeah, yeah. And man, he said, "Well, I don't understand why he would be getting made fun of." And I said, and that was it, dude. I said, "Sir, how about the fact that your entire home?" I said, "Sir," I said, "Why do you think we asked you to come outside?" And I said, "Your house smells so ungodly bad." I said, "Look at my eyes." And there was tears coming out of my eyes. And several other officers also, we went outside because it was so freaking bad we could not breathe inside. And I said, "Sir," I said, "for the record, CPS is getting called. I apologize if you find that upsetting." I said, "But that is why your kid is getting made fun of at school." I said, "I promise you." I said, "How have you not had a conversation with your child as to what they're making fun of him for?" I said, "Sir, I could smell the piss on your child as he got in the ambulance." I was like, "This is on you, sir, somewhat." I was like, and I said, "I'm not trying to hit you when you're down, but I was like, you need help." And man, I'll never forget that, man. And I just thought that's one of those things in humanity that, like, oh man, and I hope that kid's doing great now. And I know CPS ended up taking the child. I don't know if the parents earned them back ever, because we never find out the end results, man. And it sucks that we
Yeah.
don't. But it was tough. It's tough, man. And I'm sure that's tough on the CPS people to have to take. I mean, it's tough on, the family themselves. But like in that
Well, it's
scenario, it's
even
like
worse if they get taken and then they get put back in the same fucking house, right? Like,
possibly,
like
yeah,
that's what's
yeah,
insane sometimes too. Like it's I don't know. Like I don't know, man. I always feel so bad for kids that and what even makes it worse for me is that I remember all the times that I made fun of people, right? Like, well, especially in
right,
school, right? Like, and like, I didn't realize, what I could have been doing, like how much harder I could have been making it on somebody and making
yeah,
it hard for them to even come to school because I was being a dick, right? Like I think about that sometimes. I'm like, what did I do? Like,
No,
did
that's
something that I do, did it cause somebody, like, to not even, like, what if they went home and killed themselves because I was messing with them? And and as a kid, you don't think like that you don't really have any malicious intent to like try to ruin somebody's life or whatever. It's just at the time you're just like, I don't know, like, I
yeah,
don't know. You think it's funny, but it's really not, right? It's not, but you're just a dumb kid. And I know that
right,
that's an easy excuse, but yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. To me, being a dad, my kid is my 100% my responsibility. You know what I mean? Like, if they don't have something, it's my fault.
right,
Nobody else's. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those things as being a parent, your responsibility is to give your kids everything that you never had, and to
right.
to make sure that they have ultimately a better life than you had. I mean, even if you had a good life, you still want better for your kids. Like, it's kind of the way it is. So it's probably
Yep.
really hard to be in that situation where you're like, man, like, I don't even know what to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you like can't say to this kid like, hey, sorry, you got a shit life. It wasn't a good idea for you to
Yeah.
try to kill yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard, man. Because like,
Yeah.
you're like, what do I actually say to this kid? Because ultimately, no matter what I say, if CPS doesn't take this kid, he's still going to be in the same situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's wild, man. And and that's what something after those situations, I remember me as a parent, immediately, telling my children, like, dude, don't ever make fun of other kids because you don't know. You know what I mean? You may think that, I have odd situations. I've had situations with my children where they have a friend that they're hanging out with that I've literally put in cuffs and sent to jail. And I kid you not, that has happened in my life. And it's wild, man. Uh, and it's a tough thing, man. But I always tell my kids, don't ever judge another child based off of what they wear, what they smell like, who their friend, because you don't know, man, and you just don't. Sneaky in here saying that you say the situation you are in now is not permanent. You can always control your own outcome. Yeah, and that's what you tell that child. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I
And
mean that is true, man. Because like, I mean, that kind of gives them maybe some hope, right? But it's really the shittiest part about that is, man, is some people really do feel like these kids, and we do see a trend in that where kids that are brought up in a shitty environment, then I guess normalize it and think that, well, my dad was a piece of shit, you know, so I'm gonna be a piece of shit. Or I grew up poor, I'm gonna be poor
that
for the
does
rest of my
happen.
life. That happens. That happens, a lot more, I think, than we think sometimes. Or like some people are like, yeah, my dad's in jail, so I know whatever. I'm probably going to end up in jail.
And it happens a lot as far as when dad's a criminal and breaks the law a lot and ends up in jail. Sometimes the kids do because they just don't know any better because their parent has never told them this isn't okay or this isn't normal. You know what I mean?
Karen said, what responsibility does teachers or schools have? Well, I mean, I would say if we're talking about like policy wise, I mean, you have to report anything that's said, right? I know it's probably really, and I don't think we give enough credit with certain um situations. Like teachers, right? Like, um, you see these kids come in, and you see some kids wearing brand new clothes, brand new shoes all the time. Their parents pick them up in $90,000 cars, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're, and sometimes those kids are dickheads. That's just the way it is sometimes, because they know, like, and some kids know that they're in a better situation financially, their family is, than others. They know that. And sometimes they shove it in people's faces. And it's very hard for teachers whenever they say, "Oh, well, we're gonna, like the book fair, right?" I'm sure, like, I don't even know if they do that anymore. Like,
They do.
I see stuff where they'd be like,
Oh,
"Yeah."
it's the greatest.
Well, hold on. What I mean is, like, I've seen some TikTok videos where they're like, "Yeah," they're like, I remember being a kid at the book fair that didn't have any money to buy anything.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like, you're like, damn, man. And like teachers, right? Like teachers, they have kids that they see come in wearing dirty clothes that stink. That maybe they can tell that, like, they're sad and they're doing absolute shitty in school because they know their home life's bad. Like they just were scrolling through Facebook on the mugshot page and just seeing that the dad was arrested for domestic for beating the dog shit out of the
Yeah,
mom, right? And then the kid comes in the next day and the kid's all upset and you can tell, but the teacher's like, well, damn, I can't go over and say, hey, I'm sorry your dad beat the shit out of your mom, but you also got an F on your spelling on your spelling test. Just like you said, like it's hard. It's hard. I couldn't imagine being a teacher and having to deal with that. Um, especially because unless you're going to take money out of your own pocket and provide for those kids, the schools. I mean, I don't want this to sound bad. The schools don't give a shit. As a system, me personally, in my opinion, I don't think they give a shit. It's one of those things. If they did, then kids would have never had to pay for lunch to begin with.
yeah.
You know what
And
I mean?
that,
I think.
and
Go,
I'll
go, go.
and I'll say on that, by the way, Karen's my mom. Hi, mom.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, the school teachers are what's called mandatory first reporters or mandatory reporters. They're supposed to, if they see something, they're supposed to say something. But does that always happen? I don't know. I always like to say the teachers are sure quick to call me and tell me my kid's up to no good or, talking out of class. But
Yeah.
sometimes they see these kids coming in with bruises and I don't know how they handle it and what they do when they see this. I would like to think that 99% of them are doing the right thing and I would hope so. And yeah. And that's a great point, Abby. Abby says they had a closet at her school that was donated clothes and supplies for the community for those kids. I think that's a great thing. And we do have that at the school that my son goes to. And I think that's a great thing. But yeah, I think that's where the school can excel and do some things too is,
Hmm.
yeah. I think teachers and schools have a responsibility to get involved in that, and I'd like to think that they do for the most part. Um,
Yeah. No, I think that they, like I said, it's hard. It's because if their resources aren't there in the school and whatever, it's like because like teachers don't make enough money to begin with, right? They don't make
no,
enough money to begin with, so then it's even harder when they see like these kids come in, and especially like around the holiday season, we're coming up, like it's gonna be Christmas. You're gonna have some kids that are gonna be talking about, well, I got this and I got this, and some kids are gonna be like, yeah, um, I got a sweatshirt, or I
yeah,
got, so like, and it's a hard, really hard time of the year, man, especially for kids that are less fortunate. But
yeah,
I mean, I guess it's kind of just hard for everybody. So, like, our fire department, we have a blessing box outside, right? So, I think these blessing boxes have really kind of changed and really benefited the community because they go from the only way that you're able to get food is to go to an actual food bank and stuff like that. And then I feel like some people just feel like they're being straight judged right from the start. Like they're going in there and this woman's asking them questions and stuff, and they're just ashamed because they're like, "Oh my God, what if my car's seen parked outside of this food bank, or
yeah,
what if somebody that I know is volunteering there, and they see me and they're like, well, holy shit, dude, Jamie's coming here getting food. How broke is Jamie? You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's the worst thing that people even have to worry about that. But these blessing boxes, the nice thing is that they're there. People just stop by, grab it, nobody ever see.
yeah. And I couldn't stress enough to people that dude, and I don't say this to be mean, and if the corporations listen, sorry, I don't feel bad for you, but when people drop off stuff at Goodwill all the time, dude, it makes my stomach curl,
I know.
because they turn around and sell it. It's not going to needy people. I always say when you donate clothes and you donate things, do it to the right stuff. Everybody
Christian
like
help.
you have a choice. Yeah, Christian help. Even Salvation Army is better than
Haven't
Goodwill.
Salvation Army
Uh,
anymore?
but those blessing things, dude. That's I've taken food I have canned foods that I know I'm never gonna eat. That's where I take them now. If I have I got a pair of pants in there now, I've been holding on to go donate.
When you gonna
Um, uh,
when you gonna donate them?
I need to take
When
them, but
you gonna do it? I'm gonna take them out.
you,
Need
I don't
pair
know
of
if they'd
pants.
fit you, brother. They're tight on me.
Then what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say
I'm
we
just
wear the
saying.
same waist size or something?
No, they're tight on me, brother. I don't
Buddy, I
know
wore a
if
30-30 when I was maybe 13 years old.
oh shit. But yeah,
um,
but that's what I was gonna do with those was go and put them in that blessing thing. You know what I mean? Because I'm
no,
like,
I
dude,
think it's
it's a
great,
way
man.
better thing. I'd rather see some random person. What I don't hope is that some person that already has things stopping and taking stuff. That would upset me. But
So
hopefully that doesn't happen.
there's a Facebook page, yeah, and you just brought that up as a good point. There's a Facebook page that I follow. It's just like it's like a South Park community page. And the reason I follow it is because people used to post shit on there for free. I'd go get a bunch of really good stuff, so that's why I'm on there. But they have a blessing box over there, and people were talking about how like they actually go crazy with this blessing box over here. Like people actually meal prep food and put it in there. So people have like they'll put like
That's awesome.
2 weeks worth of food, like obviously for different people, but like they'll do like 2 weeks like worth of food, like in these like to go containers. It's awesome. Well, the issue they're having is that they're filling it up and then like it's gone within like the hour, and they're trying to figure out if somebody is going and taking all of it, or if like
Yeah.
that many people are really using it. And then you have you have some people on each side. They're like, well, if one person's taking all of it, it doesn't matter. You put it in there. We're not policing it. But then you have some people that are like, well, it does need to be policed because there's other people that are out here hungry, and one person is just being hoggish.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, and I don't ever want to question somebody's intent when they stop at one of those. You know what I
right.
mean? Like if I see just because you see someone pull up in a Mercedes doesn't mean they ain't having a tough go. You know what I mean? Some people, we've all
Could have
watched
been their
those
dad's
people in our
car.
lives.
That's the
Yeah,
thing is like sometimes we don't understand, we don't see the full story. Like, oh, maybe that was their friend's car that they're staying with because, or they, their friend, they use their friend's car to run down the road to get something.
yeah. And we're all seconds or a purchase or something that we thought we didn't need. We go out and buy it or that we didn't really have the money for. You're always a second, couple small moves away from being in a horrible position, no matter what your income is.
Absolutely.
If you're not smart, you know what I mean? And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, man, you can't live outside your means, man. And people do that sometimes and end up in a bad spot too. But that being said, I hope that nobody takes advantage of this because I'm telling you, I'd question if I saw a fancy car and people getting out with nice clothes and going to that blessing box. If I'm driving past in a cruiser, I'm probably stopping
Yeah.
and saying, "Hey, what are you doing there, brother?" I've done it a couple times where I've double taked those blessing boxes, but most of the time it's somebody putting food in there, and I just kind of wave at them, and you know what I mean. Uh, but it's hopefully the community does somewhat police that stuff, and you
So
know,
have you seen so the blessing box situation? Did you know that there are some nonprofit organizations that go and supply those with Narcan and fentanyl
I-
test strips and stuff
yeah,
like that?
yeah, yeah, and I, honestly, and I'll say, a lot of people kick that whole trend of everywhere giving out free Narcan, but what I'll say is, brother, you know how it was when I first started. You were around. Dude, we were going on
It was
overdoses.
new, right? When it first, like,
Oh
when
man,
fentanyl hit, like, it's right, is like, I don't think people really understand
oh, it was so
how
bad,
much fentanyl changed the game.
incredibly.
Like it was one of those things where, it, I gotta watch how I word this. Um, it wasn't just, you didn't just have the same old people that would just shoot up and get high, have a good time kind of thing. It was like you were literally playing Russian roulette. Like you
Absolutely.
were literally like you had no clue because these guys were literally just packing these things full of fentanyl. Like they were barely any heroin in it, and like 90% like it's basically like going and getting a soda and pouring out everything but a few little drops and then pouring water in it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was just watered down heroin is what it was, and it was. I mean, it was nothing to see the same person.
Yeah, it was
It was like
tough.
nothing to see the same person. Yeah, so that
And
was.
I will, and I'll say, like now, we barely run on them, not nearly like we used to. So hopefully,
You think the crackdown, or you think this is a
I don't know.
supply? I don't
I
know.
think,
I
I
think
think, I think maybe a little bit of everything. I think the shock of it's over. The people are getting
tolerance.
smarter. I don't want to say tolerance, but I think people are getting smarter at saying, "Hey, that's stupid to do." Maybe I think the solution being there more helps. I mean, I don't know ultimately, but we run on ridiculously less than what we used to, and we actually were talking about that the other day. Is they're implementing awards at our department, and we can go back and retro, for all our say Narcan uses, and we were all sitting in there and like, hey, how many stars do you let a guy get on his uniform? Because some of us that were around back then when it hit, we probably have, and I think the one officer looked it up and we were like, he said some of us were over 60 saves with Narcan.
Yeah.
And we're like, how many, what are you going to have 20 ribbons just for that? We're like, just make it like 5 maximum. And then you max out on the little stars on the ribbon or whatever and call it good. We were having to make these decisions because we're like, hey, some of us have done it so many
Well, it's
times that,
also one of those things too where it's like, then you sit and you're like, I didn't do it for an award, right? You're like, I didn't do it. You're like, I didn't do it for like somebody to say,
no,
you know what I mean? That's like sometimes you sit back and like sometimes like it is nice for them to say like, hey, Sean, like we appreciate you and we want you to be recognized for this. But then like it's also one of those things where like you do it because not only is it your job, but if you didn't want to do it, you wouldn't work, you wouldn't be a police officer, right? It's not something you
yeah.
wanted to do. So, but yeah, actually, I will bring that up. You are supposed to actually receive an award for that accident with that guy that went into cardiac arrest. Correct?
Yeah, it's still our awards thing's still firing up, and because surprisingly we never had that set at our department. So now that it is, like, yeah, there's several of us that are supposed to be getting awards for things,
Awesome.
and then yeah, we're supposed to go back for like certain things, and I'm glad it's finally happening because it's long overdue. Not that that's why we do it. Like I said, something I was gonna say was I honestly, we've all met those people out in the world that are like, well, how many times should you be able to Narcan one person?
Mm.
And it's always been a thing that I've never agreed with. When people say, well, after 3 times, I ought to just let them go. And I'm like, bro, I would never agree to that because, I've had situations where we Narcan somebody and they went on to be a counselor to help other people with the addiction issue or whatever. And why would you? And yeah, we had to Narcan them several times. So you're saying after the second, I would keep giving them chances as much as I could because they could turn around. Now, granted, ultimately, this person years later, after being a counselor, used again and didn't make it. And I still remember the name. I won't say it, but like this woman's grandma hugged me, told me how great she was, and then to find out years later that one sucked, man. That one burned a lot too because she was clean, was helping other people, and then years later just had one relapse and just gone. And but I always look at it as, hey, if we wouldn't have done it the several times we did, she wouldn't have been able to help people like she was able to do for those many years. And so there's always, you can't give up hope. You know.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I recently had a discussion with somebody where we were talking about like not necessarily that they did not necessarily, I guess, agree with the use of Narcan or so. Like I said, was especially when it comes to volunteer firefighting, right? Like it's just something that you do because you want to do it, right? Like nobody's making you do it. You're not getting paid to do it. You're strictly doing it because it's something you want to do. So, with that being said, it is very hard, and like I said, this is just my opinion. I don't want anybody to get their panties in a bunch here. Is it's to my opinion is that you cannot judge somebody if you were going to respond on calls and you respond on an OD and you're gonna say, well, I'm not gonna go on an overdose or whatever because I don't want to deal with that. I don't permit the use of Narcan, blah 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 type of situation. Then that is no different than you saying I'm not going to do CPR on somebody because they neglected to wear their seatbelt and they got ejected out the windshield.
Right.
Then you pull up on scene and say, I'm not doing CPR on this guy. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt. To me, it's no different. It's one of those things where, in my personal life, am I going to say, no, that, like I said, this is my opinion, so I do not carry Narcan in my own person, right? So it's one of those things where if I see somebody overdose on the side of the road, I'm not going to stop and try to administer Narcan. One, because I'm probably just not going to stop to begin with. Mind my own business. But uh, but when I'm doing what I'm doing with the organization that I'm in, then I feel like I'm obligated, right? I mean, like I am. There's not like I don't feel like I am. I am. I have a duty to treat this person regardless of the circumstances that they may have put themselves in.
Right.
Like I said, like just because somebody was drunk and wrecked their car and they're now entrapped inside of it, I don't get to say, well, this guy was drunk and it's his fault he wrecked it. He wrecked his own truck. Let him get himself out. That didn't really work like that. So those play hand in hand. So like you can sit there and argue with people all day about that, as they could say, well, I'm not going to do this because they did it to themselves. Well, 95% of the situations we put ourselves in probably are caused by our own stupidness.
Yeah, but it
And
doesn't mean you don't deserve a second chance.
right.
My chat wants to know Tinny's take on it. They said he ain't been speaking.
No, I mean I agree too. In terms of if we have the Narcan, if you're on an OD call, you know, give them a second chance. You never know what, they could go on to be a counselor. But even if they don't, even if they go back and use, you're doing your due diligence to give them that chance. We all deserve that chance. I mean, I could think in my personal life, not necessarily with substances, but times that I've really probably not done the right thing. And there's been people who have given me chances, and I've learned from that. And I'm sure we could all think about things that we've probably messed up on pretty big. And there's been people who have given us that second chance. And especially when we're in the role of first responders, whether that be EMS, fire, cops, police, give them that second chance.
There you have it.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. I mean, like I said, man, it's a hard situation, right? Like I think that there's a lot of judgment in our world, regardless of
Yeah.
what it is, right? I mean, it's really hard. Um,
Nestor
uh,
Nestor said Tinny, a man of few words and a lot of wisdom.
uh, but right, so Sean, I think you guys catch a lot more flack than we do about anything, and I mean, don't get me wrong, we catch flack because then you have some people that I see it all the time. They're like, "What took the fire department so long to get there?" And I'm like, "Well, first off, you chose to live in an area that is protected by a volunteer fire department. Okay, that's what you chose. I'm not saying necessarily that that's like a bad thing, right? But that's where you chose to live. So you do have to expect sometimes a different response time. And
Yeah.
there's been times like where people are like, "Wow, it took the fire department a long time to get there." Like that, we had that West Run fire over there, and I seen like there was a bunch of comments where people are like, "What took fire department a long time to get there?" Well, I was running with Westover at the time, and I think we had like a 10-minute response time, and we're talking in the middle of the day
Yeah.
on a Saturday. We made it to West Run in 10 minutes. I mean, to some people they'd be like, "Well, that's you just get in your car and you drive and you stop at you stop like all the traffic and stuff. You would just say you're stopping at red lights. It's gonna take you a lot longer than 10 minutes, right? Even though that's what people do not realize. Just because we have emergency lights does not mean that I flap wings outside of the engine and I fly straight to your house. It does not work like that. I'm driving the same roads that you are driving. I just have a little more leeway and can get there maybe a little bit faster. I mean, if you look at statistics, I believe that they stated that sometimes if you leave, like if somebody leaves without running lights the same time, it's not really that big of a difference sometimes. Like there's actually I'm swearing statistics on that. Um,
Yeah.
but and it's true, man. I mean, it's one of those things where um, there's only so much you can do.
Well, and also I think it's important to add that sometimes when we're responding to calls, the amount of people that don't get out of our way or the amount of people that are too in a hurry to yield, is insane. Yeah, Sneaky's saying it in my chat. It's mind blowing to me sometimes that people are in their own world and just they don't understand. Like, dude, I always teach my children and everyone I can that, dude, you don't know what we're heading to. You don't know what the fire department's heading to. You don't know what EMS is heading to. We could be heading to the worst day of someone's life, and it could be your family member, and you just don't know it yet. So I always say, dude, get out of the road fast. If nothing else, pull as far to the right as you can and give us that.
That
If you
middle
can only
lane,
give us an
yeah.
inch of room or 2 inches, you gave us more than what we had before, and we're going to take it, and we're going to get there fast. But to the people that still go through the light or don't get over, shame on you. You know what I mean? Like, that's on you, and there are laws that we can, and I've done it a few times when I've had the opportunity. I've followed behind ambulances or sometimes these guys in the fire truck. I'll get in behind them if I have the opportunity to, and I wait for cars not to get out of their way because I'm after them. But unfortunately, that's a very, very, I think I've got to do it twice in my 9 years where I was able to get behind a responding unit and I wasn't responding to be able to enforce that law if necessary. Now, of course, both times I did. I didn't see anyone not get out of their way. But uh, I wish in some of those scenarios, I wish there was a time when I could spend all day just waiting outside the volunteer fire department, just waiting for you guys to run code and get behind you and just start getting people, but it's tough, and it's not something we can monitor, but that's what the importance of education and, and some I'm sitting here thinking about is like even on our police department page, we should probably post something about that a little bit more, saying, hey, it's against the law. Make sure you get out of your way or whatever. Thank you.
Well,
He's been wanting to use that sound effect for hours. You see the smile on his face?
Well, no, I was going to lay this down on there. You know what's even more flattering?
What's
You
that?
said you can't wait to get behind me.
Not in that way.
I don't know. So I took it that
No.
way. Hunter even said it too. He said
Hunter hadn't been saying anything. He's not saying it.
I think
True.
Hunter's actually like Hunter's like doing customer service for another company. Here with that, he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, your dishwasher's not working right now. He's like, oh, hold please. Yeah, no, guys, I think that's absolutely tragic. You guys were in a really bad accident. Go ahead and give me 1 second while I go ahead and dwell on my next response. Oh, yeah, ma'am, did you try to unplug it and
yeah,
restart it and see if it worked? Oh, sorry, guys, I thought I muted myself.
I'm the guy from HR went to a meeting with your boss.
He's the
and the
HR guy. The guy, he's a union
that-
rep. He's a union rep that just sits in the background like, violate my boy's stuff. Dare you?
He's over there doing insurance calculations.
Oh man, yeah, that's true.
But no, Johnny, I think you touched on something that. Good.
No, good.
So I think you touched on something, Johnny, that we deal with a lot in West Virginia. Response time of volunteer fire departments, and it is delayed compared to career fire departments. But since my time in the fire service, the people that we work with, the people that we volunteer with, we're on call 24/7. I can't tell you the amount of times that, on that West Run fire you were talking about, I had a full stovetop full of food and food in the oven, paused everything, turned everything off, took the kettles off. I don't always do that depending on the call, but for that call I did. Like, we pause our lives to get there and respond to the calls when they come in. And, no matter where you are in the state of West Virginia, being involved with your local fire departments when you get the chance. I guarantee you at some point in the year, they're going to do some kind of fundraiser. Now, it could be different depending on where you're at, but if you have the means to get involved, show up and support, do that, interact with them, help them grow.
That's right.
No, that is true. Yeah, because I think that people really don't realize either. Now, Sean and them, you guys are in a way better situation that you guys were ever in, where you guys actually have some nice cruisers. Sorry, God, thought I had a stroke. Some nice cruisers and some good equipment and stuff like that. But there was a time where you guys were almost running around in hopes and dreams, man.
Oh yeah.
The equipment was not there, and as you're driving these cars around night and day, I could drive around on the road and there's nothing for me to now pass, 2, 3, depending on who's working, 2, 3, you know, sometimes 4 officers that are constantly driving around, putting miles of wear and tear on the vehicles, and over time, do that for 365.
Oh
You know what
yeah,
I mean? That is
we had Jeeps whenever I first started, and I remember going to a fight call and punching it to get on the interstate, and the engine just popped and it shut off, and that was it. And I was down, and it ended up catching on fire too. Oddly enough, I don't know how. The dash just started smoking. My lights shut off, and I was like, "Well, this car's done." But like, I mean, we went from that to like, we honestly, and this is not me saying it because I worked there. Like, I feel like we have some of the best cruisers in the entire county. Like, they're the most outfitted, modernized. We've got radars, we've got laptops and all of them. We've got,
I
you
don't like
know,
the color of them. I hate that color.
yeah,
I
I
don't like
mean,
the black and white. I like
the
solid.
the three new ones, we have prisoner seats in the back with the seat belts that you don't have to reach across a person. I mean, we're the only
That's
agency
nice.
in the county that has those.
That's
I
nice.
mean, so that I know of anyways. So I mean, yeah, we've came a long ways, man. We've came a long ways.
It
And
makes you
I
really appreciate it, right?
Yeah, and I always kind of wish we had done something other than black and white, but they do look good. And if I'll say, I think ours look better than Morgantown's.
What's weird
Sorry,
though is you
Morgantown.
do black and white, but then some of the cruisers are fully white, and
Well,
then
that
like
was just ones. That was just ones we had before we switched to it. You know what I mean?
okay. So now every new cruiser will be had the black and white.
Right, right. Yeah.
Now, how
Until
much
the next
how
person
much more
decides to
money is
change it.
that costing taxpayers to do two separate color tones?
I want to say it's $1,000 per car.
Is it actually? So it's not really that
Yeah.
much. Okay.
No, they just paint
So they
those.
just take a white door off of a car.
No, they spray them with paint.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean, well, I believe anyways that got brought up. I mean, you guys have actually been pretty successful with grants, right? And getting some grants for some equipment and stuff like that.
We're getting there. We're
Yeah.
getting more successful as the days go on. Yeah, yeah,
What? I mean, it's one of those things, man, where it is so hard to be like a public agency, right? Like it's that they have no clue. Like there's actually a humongous thing that was going on recently with fire apparatuses where they have went up so now to buy a class A engine, which like a basically a cab over which we call them customs. But regardless, used to be able to buy an engine for about 300,000. Upwards, real nice, super outfitted. You're getting 500,000. Used to be able to buy, and then used to be able to, on the flip side of that, buy a ladder truck for about $1 million. A real nice one, about 1.5 million, right? Now you are looking at bare minimum truck 600,000 for an engine,
yeah,
$1 million for a custom, and then you're talking like upwards of $2 million for a ladder truck new. Well, like where did this price come from? We're
yeah,
talking over a span of like 5-6 years. So it is. It doesn't matter what it is. If it says police or fire or EMS, it is 10 times what it would cost if it was just a regular item in the store.
yeah.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, and there is differences like our cruisers versus normal Explorer. There's vast differences as far as braking power, the engine being unlocked, the transmission modes, and certain things. But like in the grand scheme of things, like the transmission mode, that's a switch you flip. You know what I mean? It's just got a police mode in it where it holds higher RPMs and it allows for faster acceleration. It's just transmission tuning. So some of the things aren't that, but yeah, I mean that cop car is way more than people think. Plus the gear in it and everything. I mean, I think our last cruisers were running around. I want to say they were at least 60 grand for the cruiser, the outfitting, and that's not even putting a rifle in it and everything else. That's probably just lights, sirens, and the basic to get it on the road is probably around 60, if not a little bit more. I'd have to look at what we did the last time, but it's not cheap, man.
Now you guys own your cruisers.
Yeah, yeah, we own them. Yeah, yep,
It'd be kind of nice. I have seen where some. Well, you're not in that position yet, but eventually, when you're in a position of like super, like power, I don't want to say superpower. It's not like you're like flying around and shit.
Superman.
But like you got a little more authority and stuff. I see a lot of departments will work once they're upgrading theirs to actually start donating their older vehicles to volunteer fire department stuff like that. Actually,
What
see where
you trying to get a cruiser out of us? Is that what you're trying
no, buddy. Why? No, first off,
to?
I
Ours would be.
have
You wouldn't want ours. They'd be tore up when we get
not
rid of
only
them.
that, dude, but like I also don't want to be sitting in the piss seat in the back seat, vomit
Yeah.
seat. Yeah, they're pretty nasty. But I'm just saying I have seen before where like you had some like maybe some admin vehicles and stuff like that that really weren't.
Right.
You didn't really put too much wear and tear on. They did want to volunteer. Nah, buddy, I definitely don't want that with a cage. And what am I supposed to do? Hey, buddy, go ahead and get an air pack in the back there, and then whenever we get to the fire, I'll
I
have to
think
open up
so.
the door for you.
Yeah, we had
You know?
we have a cruiser now that was an EMS vehicle that we purchased. It was an EMS Explorer, and we took it off of them to make it, and it was the police package. It was just
Yeah.
that the chief's vehicle is an old EMS vehicle. So,
Yeah, that Equinox is trash.
oh, that thing's gone. Yeah, it's been gone. Yeah.
That's probably the worst purchase I've ever seen. That's as bad as when Star City purchased that Kia.
I'll tell you though that Equinox was a lot of fun, and I'll tell you why, because even if we
Buddy,
were
that's
behind somebody, they
never,
had
no one's
no
ever
idea.
said that with a straight face.
It's hard
Yeah.
to, but dude, I experienced being in that Equinox and people run the light right in front of me because they just have no idea, and then seeing the look of disbelief and oh shit when you pull them over in it, and they're like, "What the fuck is this thing behind me?"
But
And you're just like,
imagine
"You're
having
welcome."
a Kia Soul and being pulled over by a Kia Soul. I probably
Yeah,
wouldn't even pull over.
hey, they do it in some states, man. New York has some stuff like that sometimes. So,
Yeah. What was it? Richland County used to run a Camaro.
yeah,
I mean, really. I mean, what it really comes down to is I mean, you know, the department's funding. I mean, obviously, some places,
yep,
some departments have unlimited funding. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
But
We're very fortunate now to where we have been. Yeah,
yeah,
because
I mean, it's growing, right? The city's growing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of crazy sometimes when you do see some police agencies where, well, they also some places it's a lot easier to buy two cars, and then buy equipment for 2 or 3 officers rather than some. You got 10, 15, 20 officers. You can't afford the same thing for 30 people that you can max 5.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are growing too, right? I mean, you guys are probably at the highest officer count.
Close. I mean, we were a little bit higher before, but yeah, I mean, most people we've ever had, most new cars, we've got take homes now. We're really fortunate now, man.
Yeah, I mean, look at that apartment you're living in.
Yeah, it's not that great,
That
brother.
big LT
They're,
money, dude.
I literally spent all day listening to them jackhammering the steps off the side of this building, bro, because they're replacing the steps out back.
Well, they probably only did that because you probably called 15 times because you kept complaining about the steps.
Yeah. No,
never
well,
come
it
fix
wasn't
the
me.
alarm?
No, the city code came and freaking no, it still goes off.
Oh,
It
that's my
says
problem
butter.
anymore.
Yeah, I turned the key on the fire thing. I just turned the system off. Just kidding, I don't do that.
Listen,
But
do you
it's
think that's funny? I went to Marjorie Garden before where there was a fire and we were trying to figure out why the fire alarm system didn't go off, and they turned the breaker off. Turned the whole breaker off fire alarm system because it kept going off.
yeah.
What did somebody say? Oh, hold on. We got to chat. It said, "Can you have beers, or do you just want handlebars for that ride?" Pretty good. No, you cannot have beards. It's regulated that you are not able to get a proper seal with your face piece. There's been testing done by OSHA, and the best seal that you can get is with a freshly shaved face. The rubber that the face piece is constructed of just seals better with anything, even any kind of overface breathing apparatus. You have to have a seal. I'm sure, like Sean, whenever you guys were in the Coast Guard, if you guys had any kind of breathing apparatus, yeah, I'm sure. Well, you guys had to have a clean shaven anyways. But regardless.
Yeah, we couldn't have mustaches or anything in the Coast
Oh,
Guard.
no
Yeah,
mustache at all?
nothing,
Oh.
nothing.
I think in Marine, like other armed forces, you're allowed to, right?
They may be able to now, but not as of yet. So why does it sound like someone burped, dude? I looked there, I was like, someone just.
Someone underwater?
Yep. But yeah, but our mustaches come standard, Dakota, from the academy. You have to have one if you're a half decent cop.
Is that
That's what they
actually
say.
true?
I don't know. No, that's true.
Is there anything else really you guys want to bring up, discuss before we try to wrap it up? I know we've had people in there for like 2 hours. I don't want to keep them on forever. It's like maybe something that you wanted to go back and mention, or something that we forgot.
Any other questions there, chat on TikTok?
Yeah, you want to do a last call on questions? Anything that maybe you want brought up? Maybe something that you wanted to, we kind of went over and then you came on the tail end of it. We'll give them a second. But
Does Westover have a canine? No, we do not. The powers that be have not allowed us. We would like to have one, but maybe one day.
you got to find an officer responsible enough to want to take on that dedication. Because I don't think people really realize sometimes how much responsibility it is. Because like, that dog doesn't stay at the station, right? That dog lives with you.
No, it goes home with you. Yeah,
That dog is like, that's your baby now. Like,
yeah. And they have to work some extra hours, and when we're all sitting around waiting on a call, sometimes they're out there running tracks and training, and an hour and a half. Yeah, we went a little bit over. Well, we got to do more of these. That's the thing.
yeah, we do. This is great to get everything. Like I said, I want to thank everybody for stopping by, asking questions, and being involved. Also, we haven't did this for a little while. I really miss it. I actually was wanting to get it started back up, and then I just kind of got a little lazy with it. And then me and Sean were talking the other night, and we are just talking about how nice to be able to talk and get some stuff off your chest. And yeah, it's pretty much it. What are you thinking, Hunter? How's your first year in
I
the
was
fire
going to
service?
ask, while we have everyone here, is there anything that people would want in terms of topics for future podcasts, or maybe people you would like to see on the podcast?
Yeah.
We have police and firefighters right now, but I think Sean at one point mentioned tow guy. I don't know if that was in jest or seriously, but that is a point.
Comment. I mean, I don't know.
I think we should bring Vic on.
Vic even have a smartphone?
No, he's still on a flip phone, I think. No, no. I mean, it's up to you guys moving forward, man. We could do this. I mean, I'll come on here all the time, or we can get other guests. I mean, it's your deal, man.
Yeah.
It's your...
So like I said, so it's we could definitely bring some other people on. I'd love to get one time. That is the hardest. I think obviously you're the only cop I've ever had come on, Sean. Because cops sometimes are weird about situation. Like that's like when I talk to some of them, they're like, yeah, I don't know if I just. Sometimes police matters, especially when I first started doing my podcast 2 years ago. It was a weird situation where a lot of people were being super judgmental toward law enforcement. You had a bunch of riots and stuff going on. It was kind of a weird situation. You never kind of knew what kind of crazy questions you were going to get.
Yeah,
it's calmed down a little bit too.
Yeah, it has. And see, me doing the streaming stuff I do, I don't, you know what I mean? I'm used to it. So like if people fired in here now and started saying some stuff, brother, I'm quick to kind of shut it down anyways. I don't, you know what I mean? I'll let them have their moment of fame in my stream and say what they want to say. And then a lot of times I offer them conversation. So I get a lot of cops being, you can't shut me down. I get a lot of people being weary of that, or weary of putting themselves in the spotlight a little bit. But I think you already are anyways. So like for me, I want people to learn. And that was one of the main reasons I started streaming and doing everything I do, is that I want people to learn that whether we're, police, EMS, first response, firefighter, whoever, even jailers, whoever. We're normal people. We're not anybody that's different than you. We're just cool people that like to have fun,
Yeah,
and
you don't have a
you know,
vendetta, and you're just not out
no,
here like I'm about to ruin somebody's life.
no,
You know what
nobody's.
I'm
I don't
saying?
think anybody's like that. Yeah. Well, there might be a few over the years,
And
but
that's one of the things too, right? Like I've heard some people tell me before,
yeah,
like when I've said it, like they're like, "Man, I really go for a fire." And they're like, "Well, that sounds terrible." They're like, "You want somebody's house to catch on fire?" And I'm like, "You know what? On the flip side, that sounds really terrible." But it's not so much that I want somebody's house to catch on fire and lose what they have. It's a weird, like even weird to explain it. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
something that I enjoy doing, responding on emergencies. But and unfortunately, sometimes some of those emergencies do entail people's loss.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
on the flip side of that, like it's one of those things where you're like, man, I really enjoy pursuits, but it not necessarily mean like, oh yeah, you want it like every person that you pull over to to run from you.
No, I just want to go fast. You know what I mean? It's an adrenaline rush. It's fun, but at the same time, I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I don't. I want
Right.
to take out. I want to catch the bad guy. It's like playing tag. Nobody goes out to play tag to trip their friend and watch him bounce off the curb. You know what I mean? They play tag to have the chase and say, "Hey, look at me, I caught him." Not, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, Sam said, yeah, I remember when that was said on the 4th of July. What she's talking about is we're talking about when we were on the day of their house fire. We were all in the bottom hall, and Jacob was down there cooking food, right? Because we were cooking food for the 4th of July. Everybody's gonna hang out, and then we're doing a firework detail for the city later on, and we're all sitting there, and we get sent for a structure fire, and Jacob's like, "Oh, okay, I see how it is. You guys just gonna go ahead and leave me because you got a fire." I'm like, "Oh, that's okay, man." And then literally, he knows his house,
yeah.
right? So it's like, oh,
Well, that's honestly though that's a perfect scenario. You know what I mean? Of like you don't know what you're even heading to. You know what I mean? Until like you're like,
you
holy
don't.
crap, and then it hits home when you're like, man, I can think of several calls, and I won't bring up too many of them. Um, uh, I won't bring up too many. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my chat; they're being goofy. Um, but I can think of calls that like, dude, when I got there and quickly realized the worst day of somebody's life was somebody I went to high school with, or and that changes it for you real fast, man. You know what I mean? It changes it for you real fast. And some of those situations stick with you even worse because of it. And you just don't realize that. Yeah, you just don't know. It's wild, man.
It is crazy being in this life that it really your um perception of things is definitely differently than a normal person. Like you see things like, man, like if I'm put my seatbelt on, right? Like I've been in accidents where people didn't wear their seatbelts before, and I'm like, man, this guy got fucked up, right? So like I'm always real big on like I make sure I wear my seatbelt. And then you get some of these people that are like, oh, there's people that's died because they had their seatbelt on, and I'm like, yeah, there's been a lot less. I said there's been a lot more people that died because they didn't have their seatbelt on than people that died because they had their seatbelt on, right? Like it's one of those things where like you look at things like really it's just really crazy, right? Like you think about like things in your house, like people don't realize. Like I see those dumbass things they sell at the store all the time, where you plug them into your original outlet, and then you now have 10 outlets to plug stuff into. So you guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm like I would never in my life buy one of those because I'm like I just took something that's 2 outlets, and now that means I can plug 10 things in.
Yeah.
Buddy, if you were supposed to plug 10 things into an outlet would come that way, but it
Right.
doesn't. And then, like Hunter brought up earlier, is then that's how you get those people that like, especially this time of the year, plugging in 3 space heaters, and you're just doing what you have to do. I understand, trust me, I do. You're doing what you have to do to take care of your family.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you have to try to be safe about it. You can't have 4 space heaters plugged into one extension cord. It's just you can't do it.
Yeah, Megan over here said a cool comment that I think's cool to say. She said sometimes it's comforting in a way knowing the first responder that shows up to your call, and that's I'll say that's a really important thing that I appreciate about good officers and good firefighters and EMS is taking that extra time to shake the child's hand, to give them a teddy bear, to uh, your, your wife's over here giving me a hard time about how long we're on here. Um,
So well, she's not over
uh,
here because she know it wasn't gonna do any good, so she went to your chat.
I know she's trying to fire my chat now. So I will say I always take that extra time to be personable to people and shake their hand, or if grandma wants to hug you because grandma wants to hug you because she just watched her kid go to the hospital, give grandma a hug, man. You know what I mean? Like enjoy those moments because that makes a difference in the world to those people sometimes. I appreciate when I can go back to the same house several times and I know who they are and I kind of already know the situation they're going through and I can just like take off where we left off the last time. You know what I mean? And I think that's an important skill that you have to have as a first responder is being very personable. You know?
I agree.
That human connection matters so much. Like there was a structure fire that I went on. It was about a week or so ago, and fire obviously a bad thing for the family, but there were some kids, and those kids, the only thing on their minds, they saw firefighters, and I tell you, they could not be happier. They were maybe like two, three young kids, and they were waving, popping their head out of the car. They were just happy to see a firefighter, and they wanted the firefighter to talk to them. Like that was the only thing on the kids' mind. So taking the time when it's safe to do so, go wave at the kids, go talk to the
Oh
kids,
yeah.
show them that it's a great
But what's
thing for
crazy
that.
though, right, is like we talk about like that brings up a thing of like how innocent kids are, right? Like their fucking house is just on fire, but the only thing that they're happy about is the fact that they got to see the firefighter show up to their house.
Well, that's why me and Johnny, well, actually, I think we kind of had that conversation with Hunter that day down at the fireworks stand is how important those events are, man, to where kids can see you when you're not
Oh,
in the heat of battle or where the parents can
community
see you.
outreach is the biggest thing, and that's where I think some organizations get way too comfortable with the fact that they are automatically like deserve respect, and they forget that the people that they're serving are the reason that they're there, and that if the
Yeah,
people that don't respect you that you are serving can very easily get rid of you as easy as they allow you to be there.
absolutely.
And like some people like that's always something that I've been real big on is like community outreach. Like these people are more or less, I don't give a crap how much time you put in to raise money. The only reason you were there is because those people allow you to be there. It's the way it is. Like it's very
Yeah,
hard to if somebody stops by the station and wants to look at the trucks and you're like, nah, sorry, we don't have time. Well, that guy's essentially paying taxes that you're getting, and that's why you're there. Like I know Sean said it's funny when you guys that have some people that'd be like, I pay your salary, pay your salary,
yeah. That's what I always just say. You're right. You do. I appreciate it.
but like you don't have to out my face.
Yeah.
But all
Like,
right,
thank you.
all right, guys, yeah. So, all right, everybody, thank you for stopping by. Thank you guys for coming on. I don't know that we'll have the same guests as we did this time. Maybe we'll have more. I mean, I'd like to keep this group. It's a pretty good group. I think everybody Hunter's like a spider on the wall, just kind of waiting. Um, Obviously, me and Sean both like to talk. That's kind of nice. Um, I've had some guests on my podcast where they came on, and I felt like I did more talking than they did. So it's kind of nice to have somebody else to interact. Um, But I'm sure we definitely want to get some other people's opinions and definitely get some good topics to bring up. Maybe something that somebody didn't feel comfortable that they didn't want to comment or bring up themselves. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for stopping by, and thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having.
Thank you.